Scott. All right. Excellent from head to toe. New stories, independent wrestling. Let's go. Breaking down the matches, analyzing the fights. Big cats got the scoop, shot in the spotlight. From the big leagues to the underdog flight. First sessions got you covered day and night. With the roar of the crowd, we dive deep inside, uncovering the secrets we can't hide. Body slams and suplexes, we abide. Purr sessions where the wrestling truth resides.
Welcome. Oh, I have something already on the stage. Oh, look at that. We're prepared. I promise.
We're prepared. Always.
Welcome to another episode of Purr Sessions Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, the Main of Maine, Big Cat Tyler Adams, and I'm here with the hardcore maniac JP O'Reilly. And Levi Spade, the soul of submission style, is somewhere. He just literally is here and has disappeared.
He was here. He disappeared.
So I wonder if his shit crashed.
Mm.
But yeah, so we got a amazing guest coming on tonight. We have the current MEW champion, also Let's Wrestle tag team champion, and the owner of Ring Wars, Eric Johnson. I don't know if we want to wait a few seconds or get him right in there and Levi come in.
I think he's good.
I know he's ready. I don't know about Levi. I don't know what fucking happened to Levi.
Yeah, I think Levi disappeared. Might just want to.
Yeah, and he'll come back. So we'll bring Eric Johnson in right now. How about that? Everyone, welcome Eric Johnson.
The man,
hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining the podcast.
No problem. A lot of people seem to be asking me to do podcasts these days, and I'm old. I don't like doing all these things. So,
I got plenty of stories, so it's a perfect place for him.
I know.
I guess everybody's got questions. Everybody wants me to do these, and I'm gonna try to do them all now that I got some time. During the last few months, I've been pretty busy. Now I got some time on my hands. So
there you go.
I'll get them.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying I'm going to do as many of these I guess I can these days. That's what's happening. Everybody seems to want to do podcasts these days, so I'm going to try to get these in now that I got some time. So sorry if it took me so long, but I'm trying.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I know JP was excited because he's saying there's a lot of old stories that you can discuss and talk about.
Oh yeah, I probably forgot half the shit before.
And the best part is
lumps on the noggin, but yeah, I got some stories. Just ask the right questions, get the right story.
True.
So usually we typically start this with why don't you give just a little background about your history starting. I know you've been in the business for almost 20 years now, or at least
21 years. Actually, 21, and then the coming MPW show will be my 21-year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. In wrestling years, I'm old.
Hey, this year's my 10 years, decade long being in the ring. So,
that's partly my fault. So, everybody, I'm sorry that you had to put up with some JP O'Reilly matches.
Eric Johnson is the reason why JP O'Reilly exists to this day.
So,
I apologize now to anybody. Sorry.
So, you're the reason why we get all the shitty hardcore matches.
Keyword on.
No, you can blame Rob Marsh for getting me into deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah, I'll let him take credit for that one. That was not me.
I love him to death, but it's his fault.
So for background, since like I said, 21 years as of the next coming MPW show here. So I started, I think that's January 2004. I first started going to local matches, which back then was New Wrestling Horizons. NWH, and Sonny Roselli and Larry Huntley used to run the shows back then. And I trained for about 6 to 8 months with Larry. Mind you, I turned 18 my senior year of high school, so I was still in high school when I was doing amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, going to day school and night school, and working 2 part-time jobs.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I burned myself out at a young age just because I wanted to get so many things done. And not to lie, I screwed off in my early years of high school, my first 2 years of high school, I screwed off a lot. So I was like, well, trying to get my shit together. So junior and senior year, I got my shit together. Anyway, it was around the time I was supposed to have my first match. My grades started slipping. My car was breaking down. I was beat to crap. I remember they were doing I think it was like a week-long tour with either Gangrel or Chris Hamrick was coming for New Wrestling Horizons. I can't remember which one of them was coming in, but I remember it was a week-long tour, and I was going to be bunked up with Larry. I was going to ref part of the tour and have matches the other part of the tour that they were shorthanded, and those were supposed to be my first matches. And essentially, I was going to get squashed. And my car was breaking down. It literally broke down after a Buxton show. I got it back, and couldn't afford to fix it. I was just like, you know what? Time to take a break. So I finished high school. Ran into Ryan Michaels and Chase San Antone, which I don't know if either of you know who Chase San Antone is.
No.
It's a buddy of mine named Abe. I ran into them, and I started going to Tony Atlas's shows down Lewiston area and stuff like that, Club Texas and things like that. And those were some of my first matches until NWH came to my hometown of Old Town and was going to run weekly shows.
Oh, wow.
It was an old. It's now a church now, ironically, but it was an old VFW, a VFW hall, and you could fit, if you squeezed them in there, you probably could fit like 150 in there with the ring.
Oh.
And we would change in this old storage closet.
Are we talking like Dexter Lodge type of storage closet?
Oh my gosh.
No, that was smaller. Dexter's was smaller than this one. This one actually had it was like where they stored all their sound equipment and signage and extra cups and things they didn't use from the. So there was a bar in the front of the VFW hall, and in the back was the hall, obviously. And then there would be the room where they keep all their extra crap. And we would change in there. There'd be no heating in there. So it'd be cold. In the wintertime, we're still doing these weekly shows. It'd be wintertime doing these weekly shows. It'd be so cold. There's no heat. We're freezing our nads off, and we're all in spandex, just freezing our butts off. Wrestling weekly in front of 50 to 60 people. Some nights it got pretty big, though. I think we got up to 120 in there. It was pretty big. Anyway, wow. When they came to Old Town, I started training weekly and while still wrestling every week because they were still short-handed on wrestlers. And I would sometimes wrestle twice a night, once under a mask and once as myself. And I just put in reps, and I just kept going from there and did a lot of seminars over my time. I get to keep going for 20 plus years of stuff, but that's when I got back into it full time and been on the road ever since doing it.
Wow, I can't imagine doing a wrestling show every week. I know Beyond.
Your skill.
Yeah,
that's how you get that's how I got my edge. I went from those few when I started going with Ryan and my buddy Abe to those Tony Atlas shows. There was a match here. One of my first matches, I got the snot kicked out of me. So I went in, fucked up 2 minutes in, and got my ass beat. So just how it works when you're a greenhorn.
Exactly.
And then when I was doing those weekly shows, I was wrestling because no one ever wanted to wrestle them, and I think they did it more so as a punishment. I was getting beat up by Bull Moose Calhoun every week just because no one wanted to wrestle him. I used to sell really good for him, and I knew him from when I was younger anyway, so he didn't take it easy on me, but he did more with me than most. But just got my butt whipped for a couple weeks until they finally did something with me.
I got a question right here for Tyler. He says, "Oh wow, so Eric, what was it like back in those days on Tony's show? If you don't mind giving into detail of how that changed over the years."
Depends on the time frame of the Tony shows, because I was there for the transitional time. What I mean by transitional time, there was a time where Tony Atlas's shows were on TV, and then sometimes they weren't. And then there was a time where Tony was in charge, but he wasn't, because someone else would help with the shows, which I believe was Amanda Storm, and she used to be the ring and provide the ring for the show. So she was partly involved too. So there was a time I was there on and off for the transition, all the while still getting my ass beat. But there was different times, because when it was just Tony, it's pretty laid back. There's no one really. Tony tells you what he wants. I remember the time when he asked me to wrestle and I wasn't supposed to. He's like, "Hey kid, you got gear?" And I'm like, because he didn't like I see him all the time. We see Tony all the time now, but back then I was just a tag along.
Right.
You got gear with you? And yeah, like, all right, well, you're wrestling that guy. Like, that's really that's how quick it was.
Right.
You're wrestling that guy. And then other times it'd be like WrestleMania in there, and there'd be like 30 dudes. There'd be like no people. Sometimes it'd be a ton. It depended on the day. It was very weird depending on the show, and also during the transition. When the TV was going on, everybody and their uncle was there. When the TV wasn't going on,
TV. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a fundraiser, it'd be cheap roster. But if it was like a fair show, I remember going to when Tony Atlas ran the Farmington Fair, there'd be like a ton of wrestlers, like 30 wrestlers on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, where all these people come from?
What year did he stop running shows?
He kept running shows on and off, because there was Atlas Championship Wrestling, and then there was APW, Atlas Professional Wrestling. There was two different.
I remember
One was the TV, one was the not. So that's why I explained to people. Well, one was when he was on TV, he had the TV show, one wasn't. But he ran shows on. He would always do at least 2 or 3 shows a year, even when he was on his slow end, because he'd have a couple fairs,
right,
or razors or something. He'd always do at least like 1 show a season. So he'd have like 4 shows a year, even on the slow end. But toward the end there, like once he gave up the Farmington Fair, I knew he was kind of done. He didn't want to run shows anymore, which,
right.
I mean, I can blame him. He's old, and it's a lot of work to run shows. Everybody wants to be the booker first, promoter second. You got to be the promoter first, booker second. So it's a lot of work.
I think that's the issue too with nowadays. You see a lot of the promoters putting themselves on the show and not really focusing on the show. More of like how they can be involved in it, instead of trying to make everything go smoothly as it can be.
Well, I host the Ring Wars stuff, as you guys know, and the first show I didn't even really want to be on it. I got a sponsorship that I wanted to use to put toward advertising for the show, but the deal was I had to wrestle, and it was for Carolinas. The owner of Carolinas walked in, and I was literally divvying up tickets to mail out to people. And he's like, "What are those?" And I said, "Those are the wrestling tickets for Ring Wars." He's like, "Ring Wars? You're still wrestling?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not this show though. I'm just hosting this show. I haven't run a show in like 9 years or something. I really wanted to. I want 8 or 9 years, something like that." And I was like, I wanted to host a show, I mean, I'm not even the owner. I'm hosting a competition between promotions. Ring Wars is not a promotion. It's a competition. Kind of like, and I guess easiest explanation, like Mortal Kombat was like a tournament where it brought fighters together to battle, like in the video game aspect. Well, this is the same thing for wrestling. So that's really what it is. But anyway, back to the story, since you wanted stories. He saw me with the tickets. I asked him if he wanted some tickets, because I DJ at Carolinas all the time. I worked there for many a year. I know the owner pretty well. He's like, no. I'm like, he's like, "Oh, you should come. It's a good time." He's like, "I'm not into that. I'm like, "Well," I was like, "You want to sponsor the show?" He's like, "Tell me more about that." I'm like, "What do you mean? Tell me more about the sponsorship." And I was like, "Well, you can sponsor a wrestler. You can sponsor a match. I can put a banner up for you. Depends on what you want to spend." He said, "You're not wrestling on the show?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "I'd like to sponsor you if you were wrestling." So I'm like, "So if I wrestle, you'd sponsor me?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Put me a check on the spot." So I was like, "Well, shit, I got to wrestle now, I guess." I'm like, "This will pay for the posters. This will pay for this. This will pay for that." Yeah, guess I'm going to have to wrestle now. So like this coming show on February 1st, I'm not wrestling. I did that on purpose. But Ring Wars is a competition between promotions. And the irony is I work for all these promotions. So I can't just pick one. That's not really fair. So I don't really want to. I want to be the host. I want to be like putting this thing together, making it happen so that their competition between promotions happens and the talent can wrestle each other, and I can just be there being the Shang Tsung of the situation. It's really what I really want to do, make sure everything runs smoothly. And so this show on, I'm there just as a backup talent at that point. If someone cancels or gets hurt, I'll throw my hat in there just to be like, all right, I guess I'll put the spandex on. Here we go.
I guess twist my arm. Damn it! Not.
Well, don't have to pay myself now, do I? I don't have to pay myself.
So we're talking about that about Ring Wars, but the first promotion that you owned was IWE, right?
I figured that would come up. Yeah, I ran, owned, and operated.
If he didn't bring it up, I would have.
Well, I owned and operated IWE for 9 years. Literally, one of the last shows I ran was an anniversary show, and I wasn't even financially involved. I was just I was helping with the booking at that point. The transition already happened. But yeah, for many a year, I owned and operated it until I sold it to John the Bomb and Sonny Roselli.
So can you talk about like why, like what made you think like I'm gonna start my own company instead of continue on what's going on?
Well, many don't know this, but originally it started out of necessity. IWE started out of a necessity because at one point, Sonny and Larry were like the only game in town. They were running together. Now at the time, that was NAWA, which is what Larry still runs now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the only game in town. And back in that time, there was an athletic commission still. So you had to pay your $500 a year promoter's license. Every wrestler had to pay $60 for a wrestling license. Every referee had to pay $20 for a referee license, and every manager had to pay $10 for a manager's license.
I'm so glad I started after that was gone.
It was such a headache. And then they would take 10% of your gate.
That's so
my
dumb.
gosh,
dude.
So
you guys can imagine what New York is like. Basically, it's like that, but probably more money.
It's a scheme, but anyway, they'd come in. You'd have to have someone that was first aid or in CPR trained on your staff or there to help with the event to do your blood pressure and check all your stuff, and it had to be documented and given to the state official when he came there. And they were always very nice, especially Al Biondi. He was a very nice guy. Loved him to death.
Wow.
That goes way back. I'll tell you that story if you want later, but let's keep with this current one. As I drink my coffee. I have a coffee drinker. So, anyway, the big thing was that was part of the reason why a lot of wrestling had slowed down at one point. Another one is it's expensive to run shows, and some shows would be a hit and some would be a miss. I remember a show I wrestled Larry in a tables match in Presque Isle, Maine at the Forum.
Oh God.
Hundreds of people there. It was packed. I think Honky Tonk Man was on the show. It was a really great show. Even though there was a match that was like even a lower card match, which was like Prozac versus Tommy Lane, which was Kid TNT back then. And even that was a good match. Like, there was great. Even the matches you wouldn't think going to be great were great. The whole show is good as a whole. But then we did a show the next week, and it was in like Milo, Maine, and drew like 50 people. So we went from hundreds to like 50. And it was just disheartening, and I could see that in with Sonny, and he didn't end up wanting to run much after that. And I used to be like the head of the ring crew at the time, and I was like, well, what about Dino's? Because back when I ran Cityside, which is what IWE was, it was called Dino's Pizza, and that's where he used to do the TV tapings because we were on TV at one point with NWH / when it turned into NAWA, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, I could see he was really frustrated and didn't really want to run shows at the time. And I was like, well, Dino's is like 15, 20 minutes from my house. Why don't you let me run a show there? It's like, you got a ring? You let me use the ring? We'll split it right down the middle. Like, I'll do all the footwork. You supply the ring. Blah, 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 blah. He's like, I don't really want to run shows. I'm like, well, you got the licensing. So it saved me having to pay for a promoter's license because he had one. And so I worked it out with him. We split it all down the middle, everything, even the profits that we made, which at the time wasn't much because there was still an athletic commission. We still had to pay everybody. Anyhow, first show kicked off. I did all the footwork. I was hawking tickets. So was Johnny Primer and Scotty Vegas was Alexander Lee. We were all hawking tickets. We packed a good 150 in there for the first show we did at Dino's. And so, and he was happy and big and shit, but he still didn't really want to run anymore. So I offered at the end of the show, I said, look, I'll give you my half of the profits and I can pay you out for the ring and buy the ring out from you. He said, if you want to do that. So at the end of the night, he took his half. I gave him what was half of my money. I even gave him my money I got back from all the money I spent. I gave him that. And every time I ran a show, it was every other month I was running the show. Every time I ran the show, at the end of the night, I give him my part to put toward the ring costs. One day, end of the show came. Gave him the last bit of money. I'm like, all paid off? He goes, yep. Next show came. End of the night came. He thought he was getting a piece of the pie. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I paid you off. I do all the work for this show. And at that time, the Athletic Commission, ironically, at that same time, the Athletic Commission had shut down. So I didn't need a promoter's license.
Oh.
Wrestlers didn't need wrestling licenses anymore. Yeah, it just happened to coincide at the right time when I paid off Sonny for the ring. And I kept running Dino's because I had already, the Dino's had changed hands. It was to new owners who were slowly turning it into Cityside. They just kept the Dino's LLC because they bought the place. And I'd already set up with the owner and said, hey, if I decide to run here monthly, how would you feel about that? They loved it because I'm bringing over 100 people in every night, every once a month, and they're making all the food and beverage money. And they said, as long as I run once a month, they were cool with it. So I'd already had a good rapport with them. I officially owned the rings. I bought it off Sonny. I didn't need Sonny for his promoter's license anymore. I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but I kind of just was like, dude, why would I give you money? Because I did all the work. I did everything. So why am I giving you a cut? I own the ring now. Shortly after that, Sonny stopped wrestling, and I contribute that to being my fault that he got back in later on because he started working with the Savoldi's with NWA on Fire, and things like that. And I was still using everybody. I was no hard feelings between me and Sonny. He just saw, like, I paid him off. I don't think he expected me to pay him off and finally buy out the ring. But that was my goal, was to buy it out. And I already had wheels in motion to start my own promotion because we were running under the NAWA banner, and I was slowly turning it into IWE because I thought, well, by the time the new year comes and I haven't paid off, I'm going to have to get my own promoter's license. So I was like, by the time the new year comes, I'll get my own new license and all that. And then Athletic Commission collapsed, and I didn't have to do that. So it worked out. But that was the starting blocks for IWE. It was messy, but I got it there. I had a direction I wanted to go. And
what was the timeline between you wanting to run the shows and you paying off Sonny, essentially, like for the ring and everything? Like, how many shows do you think did you run between that start and then officially everything just being like on your own?
Well, here was the irony, because I remember about a half a year, maybe about 6 to 8 months went by. I was still doing the NAWA to IWE transition, and I already had brought in my own belts, and we're calling them IWE tag team titles or IWE this, IWE that, yep. And was teasing out the NAWA titles because those were technically belts that were owned by Larry.
Oh,
I was taking them out and bringing my own in. Slowly but surely, so this way I had say over what went on with them, because at one point I had to clear everything with them because these are still their belts, their wrestling licenses. Well, the wrestler's wrestling license, but their promoter's license, So I had to still clear everything with them before I did anything. But when I finally got it all situated, where I had my own belts, paid off Sonny, I was doing all the work myself with added help from Alexander Lee and Johnny Primer, because they were helping do some of the footwork, like put up posters and help sell tickets, because we were like the three amigos. We all traveled together all the time. We were moving in our own direction. Sonny called us the land of misfit toys for many a year, because we had such a ragtag group of people. And I was like, there was all people that wanted it.
Right.
There's all a bunch of guys from all across New England and Canada that just were not getting work, that wanted to get work. And I just wanted to have a place to run a show once a month so that we can get the work, and B, keep this wrestling thing going, because at the time no one was running. A, no one wanted to pay the fees, and B, there was no one around. I'll give it to them. Sonny and Larry were the only people in town that wanted to do anything. They were like Motel 6. They kept the light on. You know what I mean? They kept it going for many a year until I decided to take the ball and preferably run with it and not stop running for like 9 years.
And you only had like a few people too that only ran like one set of Blue Moon shows at that time too, because you had running.
Yeah, I think it was Christian Nickerson who run All Out Mayhem. He ran like 1 or 2 shows a year. Same thing with Tony. He ran like 1 here, 1 there. He was kind of on the back end of done shows. And then Larry would still do an occasional show here or there for like fundraisers and stuff and that he had or fairs that he had. And that was about it. So it went from them leaving the light on to me constantly leaving the light on with IWE. I remember I got Joe McBrady on board to help me get a website built and started and a domain name bought. He was part of the McNasties. They were a tag team. And he started helping me with that. I got Marion Lawless on board doing our graphics work and things like that. So we had that going. Mr. Mike, who is no longer with us, was our video guy. He would do all our video work. God rest his soul. He would do all the video work. I had a group of people. I got people lined up doing the right jobs, doing the right thing. Damian Main, also God rest his soul, was my ring announcer for many a year. Yep. Like we had our things rolling. I ended up acquiring at one point the Fairfield building. Because I was running Dino's in Fairfield, Larry and Sonny were still running there on occasion. And I remember they ended up, we had a weekend planned where I was going to work together with them. And I think we're bringing in Spike Dudley back then. And I got Spike Dudley through Jay Gillette because they were good friends. Nice. And Spike would drive up. So I would use him every once a year for a weekend. I was like, hey, you guys want to use them on a Friday? I'll use them on Saturday in Brewer. You can use them on Friday and Fairfield. And we worked it out. And then something happened where they didn't want to run the show. And I said, well, still a month before the show's going to happen. I'll do it. Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. So I already had all my wheels in motion for my show. So I would personally go down there, do the street work. They already had a deposit paid for the building. So I paid the building their money so that we can have the show happen. I got everything going. The show actually drew just as good as Brewer did. We had about 150 in there for that. So I was like, I could do this once a month. In a weekend, Friday in Fairfield, Saturday in Brewer. And I did that same tandem roughly for 9 years.
Yeah, those double shot weekends were, you didn't really get that anywhere else in Northeast doing it back to back at all. And you don't see it now. You don't see that even up here now anymore. So it's like those are one of those bittersweet moments that once, we started wrestling, it was like, cool, we get to wrestle not just once, but twice in a weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And from there, I started picking up more venues and fairs over the years. I remember at one point we were wrestling 4 to 6 times a month sometimes. And it was crazy. It was wild. I remember the first time I rebuilt the bridge with the Skowhegan Fair, which now Larry has. I remember they only wanted me for roughly a week's worth of dates, not the whole thing. And I plugged in shows and the dates they didn't have me. So that we had 14-day stretch of just wrestling.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It was a lot, but
I would hate myself.
You guys don't get it. We all used to love it back in the day, having that much work because
we still try to nowadays.
It's rare. Now people are like, oh, after one day, you're like, I'm hurting.
I'm like, oh, I'll take all this time off, do the shows, and then I'm 2 days. I'm like, you know what? It's too hot for this. I'm good.
And now this next not this weekend we're in right now, but the next following 2 weekends there's 4 wrestling shows.
Yeah, and I'm just I looked at my dates and I go, I'm wrestling back to back 2 weekends. I don't know if I can handle all this.
I'm wrestling on all of them but my own, the one I'm hosting. And that might have to change if someone cancels. So
we're gonna be feeling it.
I'm almost 40, so
my last match I didn't even do any bumps, and I was like, why do I fucking hurt? Why do I hurt so bad? I didn't even do shit. I'm feel old.
Well, they say every time we all take a hit or a bump or whatever, it's almost like we're putting our body through a car wreck, like a 35-mile car wreck or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I feel it now because I have to see a chiropractor twice a month. because literally every time
I probably should do that.
wrestle, because I'm like, you know, almost 400. Like I'm right now, I'm 365 pounds. But every time I bump, I literally can feel my ribs dislocate, which is very common.
Oh,
So, feel them, yeah. It doesn't hurt now. First happened, I was like, what the fuck? Oh. Now I'm like, oh, that's fine. Pop the rib out. Go see her on Monday. She pop it back in. And that's what she does. No, this one's out. No, that one's out. No, that one's out. I'm like, that's pops them right back in. I'm like, and she's a little English lady named Cheryl. She pops him back in. I'm like, how are you? I'm like, 3 of you put together. How are you doing? And she does pops them ribs back in.
They got them powers.
oh
No.
shit!
Yeah,
Do
IWE was quite a time for about 9 years before I sold her.
What would you say is your most successful IWE show?
That's what I was gonna ask. Your favorite and most successful show?
Depends on what you mean by successful. Do you mean financially, or do you mean emotionally or mentally?
Emotionally.
Promotion.
Emotionally would be, and I always say this, and some people remember it, some people don't. It'd be the night that I had Robbie Ellis win the heavyweight title.
I saw video clips of that. I never
I
got to see
got fans crying. He was crying. It was an emotional moment. Like Robbie, and this was like one of the last years he was in wrestling because of it, physical stuff. He was older, He did it on the fly. I literally remember it took Mr. Candy, Ricky Williams, Scotty Vegas, was Alexander Lee, and the captain to the side. And I said, this is what I want to do. And I said, hey guys, I know you guys are the main event for the title. I want Ricky Williams to go over, but this is what I wanted to happen. I want Robbie Ellis. So he wrestled earlier in the night again. Who's going to be wrestled early in the night against Zach Mercury, who was a big dude from Canada, huge guy. And people weren't going to believe it, but when he beat him, and he got a huge reaction. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want him to come out. He's in his street clothes. Is he ready to wrestle? He comes out to stand up for Scotty Vegas because you cheated with the hockey stick. Stands up for him. And, the captain says, if you guys want to throw down, you can throw down right here, right now. We should ring that bell. And then have Robbie Ellis kick him low, hook him up in the sliced bread. Referee slides in. 1, 2, 3 out of nowhere. Huge pop.
I don't know if these two know who Robbie Ellis was, but if in case you guys don't,
I feel like Cat's looking at his computer, researching that Robbie.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to find the matches we're talking about.
Imagine the Ric Flair of Maine. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, literally it worked out. I called it. Ricky Williams used the hockey stick to win. Boo! Captain's comes out all upset, and Robbie Ellis slides in to check on Scotty Vegas, make sure he's okay. While Ricky Williams gets in Robbie Ellis's face, and Robbie Ellis is old. He gets up. He's like, "You mind your own business. I'm trying to help him." Blah blah. He's trying to stay out of it, and then he shoves Robbie Ellis. And Captain's like, and then Robbie Ellis shoves him back. And Captain's like, "Oh, if you guys are going to do this, we're going to happen here. The Captain's going to make it happen right now." And as he says, "Right now," Robbie Ellis kicks Ricky Williams right in the dinkus, grabs him and hits him with a sliced bread. Imagine someone like Ric Flair's age.
Like Ric Flair, yeah, Ric Flair is doing a sliced bread.
Hits the sliced bread, boom, lays on top for the pin. 1, 2, huge pop on 3. Like that third hit the mat, I went deaf. They just people were standing, yelling like, yeah, they couldn't believe it. And we had the referee. Once the referee gave him the belt, and he's standing there as everybody's giving the hot reaction. We had the baby faces clear out the locker room and hoist him up and do the deal. He was crying. He was emotional. Fans were chanting, "You deserve it. You deserve." It was a hot moment, real hot. I'd say that was a really great moment. Just because the emotional feel and how loud it was and your reaction. And at the time, which was sad, it's because he had just wrapped he had a documentary called The Canvas Man. And it just wrapped. They just done doing it.
Oh.
And that would have been the cake topper. He said he was just out back. He's like, he hugged me and he thanked me so much. And he felt like it was a payoff because he never held a heavyweight title his entire career in the state of Maine. He'd been around for years, and he thanked me a lot. And I just remember him saying, I would wish I waited. It's like, what, for the wrapping of the documentary? And that should have been the ending. Should have been the ending.
Damn.
And won the belt. Yeah, the greatest moment for me financially, that wasn't a great. Like that was just a normal day. Like we had probably about 180,
Right.
one in there for that show. It was an anniversary weekend, so it's a packed house.
Right. That's a fitting show for that.
Yeah, and it was the anniversary. It was an anniversary weekend, so it felt right. You know, I try to do big things when it was our yearly anniversary, which also was in January. It's like I timed it right. My careers on purpose.
Oh, here's a good question.
So
If there's one thing you could change during your time running IW, what would you have changed, if anything?
I would have not done television.
Are you talking about like my time when we did television?
There was 2 runs of IWTV. One of them was for a long time. It was like 3 years ago. Saturdays at noon on Fox 22. You know, like that was the like I would get wrestlers to do those. Like I got ones with Honky Tonk Man and Savio Vega, Bushwhacker Luke all going, oh, Saturdays at noon on Fox 22. Like you could remember the slogan, and we did it for years. And then the reason why I wish we'd never did TV was just the cost and the time.
Yeah.
We had plenty of footage from all the shows I ran. That wasn't the issue. The editing was where it came down to. I would literally sit at a computer for an entire day. I'd get up 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and be on my computer till like 8 o'clock at night. Just doing edits, graphics, and commentary. So an entire day I'd be looking at a computer for doing an hour's worth of TV time. And then I would have to pay for it. When I dropped it off, I'd have to pay for it when I drop it off. And that was the first stint. And I did that for, remember, like years, like 3 years.
Right.
That just drained me. It just drained me. Everybody's like, oh, that can't be too bad. It's pretty bad. Like when you, hours TV show, because there's layers you have to do. You have to edit the video first. And you have to edit to a certain time to fit in the time slot. Because when you pay with the TV station, JP may know some of this stuff because he works.
I worked at Channel 7 and you ran the second time.
Yeah, you have to have a certain amount of time to fit that time slot. So they have to also add transitions on their ends. But that time slot is yours, so you can sell your own advertisement time, which was cool.
And you had no commercials in your inside of the show itself. So
I had a couple just sponsorship commercials from like local garages or restaurants. Nothing crazy.
Right.
But it was a lot of that was advertisement time for those 4 to 6 shows I was going to run that month. So that was the one thing that killed me, was just sitting there every week doing that on top of still working a full-time job, kids, was married at one point. Depending what time, there was a part I was married, part I was divorced, you know. It was just a lot. It just drained me. Like having to sit.
The shows never aired too, right? Like there were some times that your show wouldn't even air too.
Yeah, what happened is because it's on the weekend.
Yep.
What else is on the weekend? Sports. Yeah. So they would bump me to the following week, and some of it was time sensitive. Like when I would say, "Oh, tonight in Brewer, Maine," because we'd be we air at noon, let's say Saturdays at noon, and we had a show that night. I would make it time sensitive.
Yep.
So that would be a promo like someone like if you're cutting a promo on somebody tonight in Brewer, Maine, I'm gonna blah 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 blah, like whatever you're gonna say. Well, it didn't air because it was a football game that ran too long,
right?
Or tennis, or something.
There was some stupid things.
Well, it's the priority, even though we had been there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'd air it on YouTube, which is great because our YouTube had quite a following at one point. I don't know what happened to that now, because when I sold the company, I turned everything over. The only thing I didn't turn over was one of my email addresses because it had my personal information on it that I could not remove. Yeah, like payments and stuff. Like I was like, I can't give you that, but I can give you all this website, Facebook page, all the hard drives.
I will tell you personally. The YouTube channel fell way off the wagon after you sold it. So, but it recovered over time, and then it dropped again.
There was a huge following on that thing.
Yeah, there was.
And that's because we would air our episodes like literally. I would set it up so that I would have I would upload it. Let's say it aired at Saturday at noon. I would update it. I would upload. You can upload it and just not make it public.
Right.
I'd upload it, and then literally when I would get to Cityside, I'd get to Cityside early, do the website update while I'm sitting there having lunch, and I would make the video public as soon as I got there. So like literally, oh, Saturday at noon? Yeah, guess what? Sometimes it was up before the TV show was on. So sometimes you got it lucky. But every Saturday it would be up there. I could do it from my laptop, my phone now, but back then I had to do it from my laptop. But yeah, it was it's still air. And then if they didn't air it on the TV station, I'd make them hold it and air it the next week. So if people always saw the storyline progression. There was always storylines going on. And we did some really cool things. There's stories I didn't get to do, which I wish I did. Like there was a thing where we had Joseph Primer was Hobo Joe. That was his character. And we were going to do a thing where he won by body slamming Brutus. He won the like $5,000 body slam challenge. We were going to take him shopping in his Hobo outfit. We were going to go take him to like, he's going to show him walking down the street, and he looks up and you hear the music in the back and go, oh, and you turn, it's like KFC. We go further down the road. He's just walking. He's eating a bucket of chicken. He drops the bucket. It shows like Pizza Hut. And then finally, the big he's eating a pizza. Goes down the road. He flings the pizza and he runs and he goes, I met the Holy Grail, and it's Walmart. There's just stuff like that I wanted to produce. I thought would have been funny and entertaining. There's things we did that were some like. We did the spoof Power Ranger videos that were hilarious and horribly horrible, but got view counts.
Those videos were terrible.
They were terrible, but I got so much view counts. And Marion Lawless is Lord Lawless.
I'm going digging.
Just there would be comedy. There was stuff for kids. There was stuff for adults. We did like the stuff for adults, like Ricky Williams and Cactus and barbed wire rope match where we took the ropes off and had the barbed wire.
Bro,
that was gruesome. And we really warned people for like, oh, while we're putting up, no one left. We took the ropes down and we ran the barbed wire through. We warned people for a good whole entire 25 minutes of them putting them barbed wire out. Like, this is going to be violent and bloody. If you do not want to see, nobody left. I think people came in from the bar next door. Were like, we got to watch this.
I gotta throw this up real quick just because I had found it immediately as you mentioned it.
This is so terrible. And good thing Disney did not own Power Rangers at this time. This is so terrible.
Oh, the video quality
is so terrible. Hey, the kids loved it though. All the kids are coming themselves. Wait till we get to the movie. This is the best part.
It's early lawless.
This is all behind Cityside.
All on the back side of the building.
Random back dumpster. Horrible voices. This is the best part.
What the fuck?
IWE at its finest.
Oh shit.
We had to do kid stuff too, man. We did a lot of adult shit. I made sure we did kid shit too. And like we ran Shockwave the robot in so many times.
Oh yeah.
They loved him. This is so terrible and cheesy.
Who was in the red Power Ranger suit?
Who do you think it was? I'll tell you after the video's over. I can tell you who's in every one of those, and you know all three of them, and all of them still currently involved in wrestling.
I think was Primer in the red.
Yes. Now guess who was in the green?
I couldn't even tell the other two, to be honest.
The green one was Aiden Andrews.
Oh no!
Andrews. Oh wow!
And the white one was Frankie Flash.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
There's like adult people that are still currently involved in wrestling some way, shape, or form. But we did cheesy things like that just for kids, man. It was great. And I know there's the adult audience that are like, oh, this is terrible. But then we would do, like I said, we would do a barbed wire rope match, and they'd be like, it'd be all about it. You know, like it was crazy. Then we did the steel cage shows, stuff like that. Like we did stuff for both sides of the fence. You know, I brought Shockwave in one time, and then I turn around and I don't know. I'd bring what else we bringing over time? There's
What was
just
the
like Bradley, Sanjay Dutt, stuff like that.
the biggest name you brought under IWE in your time?
I don't know how would you vary a biggest name, like most successful or most biggest draw?
Whether they were in WWE or was like the hottest thing at the time, depending on.
The hottest thing I ever got was it's before going viral went viral. We had Honky Tonk Man up a lot.
Yep.
But I remember a local newspaper catching wind of me bringing up Honky Tonk Man for a show in Fairfield. And literally, I want to say, this is a small time newspaper, literally every newspaper in the state picked up this article and put it in their papers. So like a full spread.
Oh, wow.
Across the board, full buckshot. Like it went from one small town local newspaper to Fairfield, and then it went everywhere. I think it was like the Morning Sentinel or something.
Ooh.
And it went everywhere. And because of that, we had a packed house in Fairfield. There was like 250 people in there for Honky Tonk Man.
Holy shit.
Yep. And this is back before viral went viral. Like that was the thing. Like I was just like, oh my God. And I remember because I think me and Sonny were putting this show on together, and this was a totally different time where Sonny came back and wanted to be a part of IWE and help out. And me and Sonny, I think, tagged up to face Honky, and I think Jay Gillette. I think that was the tag. I can't remember. It's been a minute. It was a good show, man. It was an all-around good show. That's great response. And we carried that over because we were running there monthly. Literally for a few months, we were having 200-plus crowds after that because people kept in the back.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Here's a name for you. I'm sure you remember this one.
One Warrior Nation? Yeah. Oh, my God. I will give him credit, though. He did draw me 236 people at Cityside.
Oh, damn. Okay.
But this is what he it's construed some information. So when I first got contacted by him, I was informed like he was like a body double in WCW for the Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he called himself One Warrior Nation, because that was like the Warriors thing in WCW. That's what I thought. Well, that's what I was told. And I was like, okay. And I saw him. I saw pictures of him. I didn't realize until I saw him in person how short he was.
Yeah.
I saw him. On the pictures that he sent me, he looked great.
Great.
Like, I can see this. And now that back then, there's no way to check that stuff.
No.
Not like now. So I was like, bring him in. And he drew a huge crowd. And I'll say this, every time after that, he still drew me like 200 people anytime I brought him in.
Damn.
I had to stop using him because of an incident that happened.
And Kyle Big Cat just pulled up the best video of all time. So
Yeah, but if you could, I don't know, you can't really put the audio on here because you have the copyright issue because of the it's got the Warriors music. But still on Ricker, right? Well, the first time he came in, I didn't have him wrestle Ricker. I think the first time I brought him in, I brought him wrestling JJB. And if you could find that video, I don't know if you can find it. It's his work name was The Real JJB, and he wrestled One Warrior Nation. And if you could hear the reaction from those 236 people, it was deafening. And I remember I put, God rest his soul, Joey Gleitz with One Warrior Nation to stay with him for when he went out to do merch, because there was like a line of people. And he was selling all of his shit.
right.
I remember Joey Gleitz walking out back, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he was just kept fumbling around in his pants. He empties out his pockets, and wads of money just fall on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, this ain't mine. I wish it was. I'm like, whose is that? He's like, that's his money. And then he comes in, and in like this little thing he had his pictures in, he just drops it, and there's money falling out everywhere.
Is this
I'm
it?
like, what?
This must be it.
Wait for his entrance. It used to go, it went loud last I remember. Sound quality's terrible on my end.
Yeah.
I like how you get turned down the volume. Like, that's loud. Just turns down the volume. Like, I just went down. He was so fired up. He was blown up after the entrance.
I imagine because it was short and
What?
just like it's
See,
crazy.
from there, it's hard. Like, this is like when he sent me pictures, he was an avid bodybuilder. I was like, I believed it. I didn't know. Because back then you couldn't vet this stuff. Now you can vet everything on the internet. Like, you can put shit out.
You stand in person, you look at him, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, he was mad short, yo. He was mad short. But he got a huge reaction, and he drew me a crowd every time. Him and Shockwave, they were great. Like, I try to do things that back then I was big in entertainment value because I wanted to bring in a lot of family stuff because we were at a family fucking restaurant. Like, like I didn't want. I was like, let's do it, keep it family oriented. And then I was like, okay, let's start doing more adulty stuff, like fans bring the weapons matches and cage matches and barbed wire stuff. Like, there was times. It would fluctuate. It all depends. All depend on what was going on, what was trending in the world. I was good about listening to the news and figuring out what was hot and what was not.
What would you say was your best creative storyline, whether it was you involved or something that you made for somebody in IWE? What would you say was like your best storytelling from start to finish?
The creation of not just Graves, but also the faces of Graves. The whole deal, because it went from Graves started as just a masked character because Primer was trying to reinvent himself again on one of his many gimmicks he likes to do.
The man of 1,000.
God bless him. I love him to death, but he had a lot of gimmicks, and he knows.
Yeah.
Johnny Wood Hogan, brother.
Some I won't say.
We won't go there. But anyway, let's go to Graves. Graves was a character from The Man Called Graves. He just wanted to be called Graves. He wanted to have he had the singlet with the skulls and the tombstones and the stuff on it. He came out with a kendo stick, had the skull mask. That's why we called him Graves. But I used to love the old WCW song from that Sting used to come out to called "The Man Called Sting." So I used to and I joked around. I used to fuck with him, going, "The Man Called Graves." He's like, "Stop! I'm not kidding. I'm having the announcer announcing The Man Called Graves." He didn't believe me until I had him start doing it.
Oh.
Well, eventually, Primer didn't want to do the gimmick anymore and take the mask off. And I'm like, well, we should move the gimmick to somebody else that can do the gimmick so that it's already established. Right. He's like, that's a good idea. So I bought the stuff off of him, and I had a guy who was back at the time was training at Chaotic or New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And he lived in Maine, and he was trying to get on the shows. He would come to shows, help out. He just wanted to get some work in. I said, hey, you want to do this character? It's already established. You don't have to wrestle right off, but I'll put you in tags and get you more acquainted and get you going. Well, he started doing it. Well, then he started making the gimmick his own. And that's how Skylar Graves became a thing. Skylar Graves? Skylar Graves.
Skylar Graves.
Skylar, yeah.
I got it right here.
I remember the first show I ever saw him, it was like Fairfield or something.
And because he made it his own, the fans started getting behind him. It was very Crow Sting-esque when it first came out. People started getting behind him. And I was like, all right, that's cool. He would wear the black and white paint, and he'd have sometimes he'd go through different hairstyles. Sometimes he had it braided, sometimes he didn't. He'd have the kendo stick. He just had a cool following, cool entrance. We did the lights and the smoke for him at times. And he's had a hell of a following, and he was catching some steam. So I was like, all right, let me capitalize on that. Well, as Graves progressed, I was like, he eventually became a heel instead of a babyface. Had him do a turn on me. And I said, a young MSP who had been training were trying to get their foots in the doors and had bought these outfits, these skeletal outfits. And I was like, oh. I'm like, well, we got to do something with that, and we got to tie it in with Graves, because Graves's paint, face paint, matched their whole entire outfits, and they fit so well. And I was like, we got to do something with it. And they came up with the was it Scully and Humorous were the names?
Yep.
I was like, we gotta give you a tag name. And I was like, we're gonna call you the Fog. Like, what's the Fog? I'm like, well, you're gonna be like this, because whenever black and white paint, because Graves used to wear sometimes a split paint. Once I'd be black, once I'd be white. I'm like, well, your outfits are black and white. So it's like one side's one personality, one side's the other one. So we'll call you the faces of Graves. Get it? Two pieces of his face. Faces of Graves. The Fog. So it's abbreviation. And they're like, that's awesome. And one was Scully, one was humorous. And they would come out like little gargoyles and be his little minions, like the parts of his personality that had split off because he turned against the fans and me. And it just worked out great. So I can then wrestle the Fog sometimes, or then I could wrestle Graves. And along with other people I would pull in to the story. We could do that too. And it also allowed a young MSP to get tag work under a hood without people knowing it's them.
And they work double. They would work 2.
They would work. They hadn't yet, if you remember, they hadn't yet developed themselves.
Nope.
Because they didn't know what they wanted to do with themselves.
Yep. They were just
myself and many others had given them pieces to the puzzle. Like, if you remember, A Dagor was a young Amon Jordan.
Amon Jordan.
I came up with that name. I call him simply irresistible Amon Jordan. Well, then he tweaked it and made it his own. And he still uses some pieces of that now as Ed Nagro.
Yeah.
Long live Levi Lexington.
Levi Lexington.
Most of that was Amber.
Yep.
Most of that was her coming up with that. But I gave some pieces to the puzzle and she just ran with it and made it her own. Had poses, and that ended up later on becoming a piece of Danger Kid. So, and the best part was one of the last acts I had before I sold the company was I had guaranteed them that they could demask as the Fog.
And I was in the ring.
Because that was the end of the story of this elongated, when it started from Graves, the Graves and the Fog. Eventually the Fog turning on Graves, because we also bring Gangrel into that. That's a whole other piece of the story I did not put in there, but I'll put it in a minute. And then eventually them taking the mask off, because they eventually won the tag belts too, as the Fog. And I even put my ex, Sarah D'Erico, with them, and she inherited their gimmick, if you remember that.
Yep.
We started painting her face up and doing the thing like she was like controlling them. You know, it's a cool little character. Anyway, people attached to them, and I feel like that was helped to build the building blocks of MSP. They really took MSP and made it themselves, but I feel like this helped them build their tag chemistry and built them up without people knowing until they finally took the stuff off. Once they took the stuff off, everyone's like, oh, and they got a hell of a reaction when they took those masks off and finally became who they wanted to be.
I was in the ring. Me and Ricky had lost the tag titles to the Mutts, I believe. Yep. And at the same time, they attacked us. And that was like, they pulled out the tote, they opened it up, and they had all the gear inside of it. They put it all on and everything. And it just looked brilliant because you watched them like transform before your eyes.
Exactly. And over on the other side of the fence, they'd already started develop them individual selves over for Randy when Limitless was in Orno.
Yeah, and this was
so they had already established themselves individually.
Yeah.
Then for them to, because they weren't doing IWE stuff as much, they were still doing the Fog here and Fog there, and eventually this kind of like bring both pieces together, and everybody was like, oh. Like it was an awe-inspiring moment. I was like, that was the full end of the story. The part before I was talking about with the Gangrel thing, we had a part where Graves turned on the Fog, like he was done with them. They were useless to him, and he was trying to throw them away like scraps. And I brought Gangrel up for a show. Well, the spot was, and I remember because Ben, who used to work at the TV station, I think with you, Nick, Ben Flett, who was training, he was running hand cam for this. And I remember his face. I remember we were setting it up, and Graves had done all these promos, and Gangrel's coming. Alba was there. He did an interview early in the day with Gangrel, which aired on the TV station.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And we get to it, and Graves comes out, does his entrance, lights go out, you hear the Brood music. Well, the faces of Graves crawl out first, and then they sit there like little gargoyles. And Gangrel comes out, and in between them, he does the blood spot, and it is right in front of everybody. perfect shot on the camera. Goulet got covered in the blood. He got covered. I just remember him looking over at me because I was ring announcing at the time because I think I hurt my foot or something. He looks over at me and he goes, he's covered in blood, like fake blood. He's like, that was fucking awesome. And then he just kept going back to what he's doing, covered in blood. He didn't take the blood off his face till we were done.
No, I wouldn't know.
That was awesome. Like he was like, that was so cool. Like he would just, and I just remember, Aggro and Amber going and getting like posters and having them sign them because they could just remember that moment. Because obviously, like, it was a really cool moment, and we aired it on TV.
Awesome.
It was a cool moment, and Gangrel beat Graves to end that story. But it was such a elongated story over time that started from essentially a character no one wanted to do anymore to so much more. And the story, if you think about it, carried on with MSP as they went on because they took all that to the end of their story and then started a new story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was the coolest thing about the whole deal. Something that started from a character no one wanted to do anymore to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the whole story. I'm sorry that took so long, but that's why.
That's perfect.
No.
I never knew.
The only other thing that came close, and I think you remember this the most, it was the storyline I did with my ex, Sarah.
Yes, because I remember we were all involved in it in a way, just because like there was so many parts that had moved around, and
we made reality part of it. Yeah, well, yeah. I had my heart problems, and the story was because me and Sarah used to tag as the Capone. She was Callie, I was Jimmy. I gave her my name. We were tagging. We were together forever, and I stopped wrestling because I was having my heart problems for real. Because I do have a heart condition. So I stopped wrestling. And we were starting this thing where she hadn't worked heel yet. She had never been a bad guy before. And like, well, now's your time. Why don't we do this angle? And I showed her this angle like where she becomes mad and angry at me and turns on me. And she's like, how do we do that? Well, I almost die from my heart condition because I was in the hospital like 2 or 3 times during that time. Had my heart issues. I signed over my rights to my wrestling stuff to her.
Yep.
In the event that something happened, this way she had it. Well, in the fine print, it took place. I wasn't signing it over in the event that something happened. I signed it over completely, and I didn't know it. So she took my name, so I couldn't be Jive and Jimmy anymore, which I'd been through not just for years, but also on 2 different TV shows. Because we'd be on Saturdays at noon at Fox 22. The hour after us would be NWA on Fire. I literally at one point was on both TV shows back to back. And I was their TV champ at one point on Fire. So like this whole character I built up for years, she's taken it. And I had to be myself. I had to be plain old Eric Johnson. And that's, I was like, that's the story that started from that. She took my livelihood. She took my rights. And then next thing she was going to take was the company. And that was the big story. She was going to try to take it from me. So I had a feud with her and we tie in Aiden Andrews here because she owned the rights to my name. Yeah. I see you laughing. You already know what's about to happen.
Yep.
He made, Aiden Andrews. He's like tiny guy, right?
The little guy. Yeah.
He came out in my gear as Jive and Jim Andrews.
Like purple singlet gear.
Dancing to my music. Pimp cane. Bandana. Singlet. The whole people were so pissed. Like they're like, this is, and he was winning matches because she would help him win matches. When he was cane.
Too, that was Jive and Jimmy Andrews.
Yeah, and then she changed her name. She wasn't Callie Capone anymore. She changed it to Sarah D'Erico.
Yep.
And it was a big deal. Like, I'm trying to get she would throw people at me. Like, I had to fight the Leatherheads. I had to go through. Eventually, it came down to a handicap match. And it was like, if I lost, she'd own the company. But if I won, she had to fight her women's title and give me back the rights to my name.
Yep.
And I remember mostly me and Eden Andrews going at it, and she would come in and do things to me here or there, cheating. Eventually, the end of the bit came to, you remember the ending, don't you, JP? Because you're used to taking that spot.
Oh, so yeah,
POG.
funny enough, the good old POG to the head, one of the most deadliest moves in main professional wrestling. That's a good way to end a storyline for sure. And funny you mentioned that too, because while you were in the middle of that feud, that's technically how I got my
That's why you got your break.
camera, was definitely this promo.
So from now on, watch where you're going.
Look at that.
Oh, little JP.
Look at that face.
Little
When
JP.
there's a
2000.
How young you look.
foot there,
Oh my god.
you know what you want to do?
I was cracking so hard.
You step over it.
Pause it for a second. I'm yelling at him because he would run hand cam for me.
I
And tip over
actually,
single
I
feet.
ran hand cam once. It was the steel cage shows that I ran hand cam, and I almost got in this fight with Paul Dowling. And Paul didn't know who I was. Like a year later, after it started, right? He forgot who I was. But like,
Yeah,
we never brought that up ever again after that point.
yeah, the irony.
With the promo.
But anyway,
But seriously,
the best part of the promo is coming here in a minute.
when you're on the camera, don't call me sir. Do I look like I'm 50?
I'm 40 now. I'm
You
50.
answer that. You're getting the POG to the head. You know what that is? You don't know what the POG is? Power of God!
The fact you can pause it now. The fact that your feet were up in the air is what popped me. Randy was behind that camera, by the way. Randy Carver was my announcer back then. He was trying not to laugh.
I didn't plan on falling backwards at all. We just sat down and he's like, "Here, you're just gonna sit here in this promo." I'm like, "Okay." And then we doing the bit, and as soon as he hit me, I just full instinct just threw myself back, and you just see this shit-eating grin on my face as I'm falling backwards.
That's fucking funny. Just doing a little bit of housekeeping here. Tony Clown Con says hi, ni hao, everybody.
What a name! I didn't even see that.
And I saw this. I didn't want to interrupt when you were talking that amazing story, but so we got somebody that says when in IWE working with Captain Rest His Soul, was your favorite match or favorite person you got to be in the ring with and compete against?
Captain, God rest his soul. I'll miss him to death. Actually, one of the coolest people, and we tried to run it back. It didn't get to happen because I ended up hurting my foot. I think I was, forgot how I hurt my foot, but anyway, back to the point at hand. At one point, I was working avidly trying to keep in the Chikara. When they came to Maine and New England, I'd be on a lot of other shows, and then eventually they did a thing called Wrestling Is, which they had smaller promotions, kind of like sister promotions. They were trying to keep people working that didn't get a lot of the work, and they'd have a couple guys in the show that were coming out of the factory of wrestling talent, and then guys that were established. Well, one of the guys that I really liked to work with was Jaka, and we had a really good match a long time ago, and we tried to run it back. We had mind you, this shit match happened, and we went like 15, 20 minutes, I think. I can't remember. But it was in front of like 30 people in New Hampshire. It was not a good turnout. But the match was solid. And it was great, and it had great reaction just for those 30 people. And we wanted to run it back. And we didn't get to. I brought him up, and randomly, Joey Janela was his ride-along buddy. They came up to work a show, and literally, like, the week before, I busted my ankle or my foot or something, and I was in a boot.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't wrestle. So I ended up having to, like, if you still want to come up, man, yeah, we already planned to take the weekend off. We'll come up. They came up, and I think they like worked the most random opponents. Jaka worked, I think, McKenna maybe the first night, and then the night he worked Graves, which wasn't bad. But it was not what he was hoping. Like he came up to work me. Like we were planning on running that shit back up for an IWE show because we knew it was gonna be a good match and we wanted to put it in front of some fans, and it just didn't work out. It's sad. Sad, yeah, sad. As for like if you went personally like an IWE match, that was a favorite thing for me. That's hard because I've had so many matches in IWE over the years. The match that got me to go to Puerto Rico. I'll say that. It was me and Savio Vega versus Mark Moment and Sonny Roselli.
Wow.
Sonny and Larry had already worked for Savio. That's how they got the contact and brought him up to Maine. He was doing an IWE weekend, and Savio got to see me work, and he saw my charisma and liked what he saw. And he's like, and that's what got me to go down to Puerto Rico.
Sweet.
And I remember, I think it was Mike Labby came up to me and gave me compliments on the match because it was very old school, and it was something that hadn't been brought back in a minute. And it was a good little match that shocked a lot of people. Like they didn't expect that, and it was good. It's real good, and I was very proud of that match. So, and I was happy it got me to Puerto Rico. And I could have went back, I think, a couple times too. I talked to Savio a couple times after that. Could have went back. It's not cost effective. No, especially nowadays. I don't know. I had a different time, but that was I
bet 100% bet. Pull money out of your pocket for that one.
Oh yeah. Well, also it was a different time. You know, IWA wasn't what it used to be at the time. Also, wrestling in Puerto Rico wasn't what it used to be at the time.
No.
Like, you hear horror stories from way back in the day, and it's hit some ups and downs. I've been on shows down there that were fantastic, and then there's shows that were not so good to draw. But they were, I think they were on Telemundo, so I got to be a part of one of their TV tapings, which is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's out there. I think Randy found the little bit of footage. They had chopped up a match. It was me versus Zig Zion. Say that because fast. He's a short, muscular dude. Looks straight up like a bodybuilder, but he did like a vampire gimmick for paint and shit. I was like, whoa. And he spoke English, but very brokenly. And we came up with a match, and I guess like they wanted us to go a certain amount of time, which was great. You know, we went out there and we did our time. But it was a match for him to make him look good, and he's letting me give him shit. He's giving me shit, and he gave me too much. He let me do too much.
Oh,
and he's like, look at his size. Like he's trying to defend me because look at my size. He's like, oh, and he gave me too much. So what they did was on the TV show, they chopped the shit out of that video, and it's all highlights of him. All this shit got taken out. All the shit I got to get taken out. My leg wrinkles, all the cool shit got taken out. All the charismatic stuff. I was driving Jimmy down there, so I'm doing the dance, and people are loving me. I'm coming out, I'm doing the dance, and people are loving it. They cut that out. They cut everything out. It's just me getting my ass beat for like 60 seconds on the highlight vid.
Bullshit.
Yeah, Randy found it online. I'm like, oh hey, none of my shit's in there. That's me. That match was like 15 minutes or so, and there's like a 60 seconds of him beating my ass. All right, cool. But, I'll go fuck myself, I guess. But I get it. You know, I'm the outside talent, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure Savio saw me because when we did the tag match, I took the beating, you know, in the tag. So he probably saw me selling, doing all these, like, oh, he's good at doing that. I'm going to bring him in for that. And then, you know, what happened? Bring him in to get my ass beat. No one told me, though. The night before, I wrestled a guy that's 6'8", something like that. He's tall, named Spectro. Big dude. I was like, oh, hello, you're so tall. I was like, air's nice down here. Don't beat me up, please. And I'm a big guy, and I'm like, oh, you're so big. And I had a competitive match with him, and Savio loved it. And I played the crowd up. It was a shorter crowd. It wasn't as big a crowd. He loved it. So I was like, so he loves the match the night before, and it was a competitive matchup against a big ass dude. So I left with a short bodybuilder dude, and he chopped the shit out of my match. Only used 60 seconds to be getting my ass beat. Okay, cool.
Okay. Now, I probably know this question, but we like to ask, what is the worst bump you ever taken? And what is the worst bump you ever seen? And I think I know the worst bump you ever taken.
Which bump do you think that is?
The chair shot, the chair spot where you split your head open.
Yeah, I wouldn't that where I split my head open, where I got power driven. This time, and it didn't help that the chair was old. A lot of the chairs I had at Cityside back in the day were ones I'd accumulated over the years from like buyouts from places that were closing or donated, because Cityside had only had like 80 chairs or something at one point, and they did buy more and better ones over time. But I was just accumulating chairs, like equipment rental places. I'd be like, "Hey, you got a bunch of chairs you're trying to get rid of? They're like old and not good anymore." Oh, okay, cool. And I'd buy them. I'd go through them and put the ones aside that were busted. I'd be like, "Okay, guys, you can hit someone with this, but don't sit in it. It's fucked." So, but this chair was old, and me and Cameron Matthews used to tear it up back in the day. And we had a couple good matches. We had two good matches. This was supposed to be like the tiebreaker, and this is like over a couple years span. And we were doing the 3 stages of hell match. And I remember in the last stage, this was supposed to happen. I'm supposed to take the pile driver on this chair, and this is like a desperation pile driver, and we both lay there. And as we both pull ourselves up, I'm just barely pull myself up, like the Rocky Balboa Apollo Creed finish. Barely pull myself up at the end. Well, that didn't happen because he went to pile drive me. And he started, I don't know if it was a missed time or maybe I was too sweaty because we were wrestling for, it's 3 stages of hell. We were wrestling and it was sweaty as hell. We'd just gone through 2 parts and this is the last part. Went up, as my feet went up, he was already going down. And when he went down, where he landed on the chair.
Oh, God, there's video?
There's video.
Oh, no.
Watch, you'll see my foot. Go ahead and start it. I'll give you the play-by-play here as you go through it here slowly. Watch the missed time. There's supposed to be the tease, yeah, and he's supposed to I fall over. And as we go up, and so he didn't wait for me to go all the way up, and he'd already started going down. Well, what you don't see is when the legs of the chair was sticking up.
Oh,
Little bracer legs was sticking up.
no.
And it gouges me in the head. Now you can play it full speed. You'll see me, and you'll see me roll right over. Boom! It gouged me in the head. That's what it did. So that's why I'm laying there, and I'm looking at telling Chris Berry, like, I think I'm busted, because all I felt was hot stuff coming from my head. So my instant thought was just keep my hands there and apply pressure. So if you look, my hands stay there, and I have to. This is me telling Cameron Matthews, do not roll over. He goes, why is that? I'm like, you're going to roll in my blood because I think I'm busted open.
A puddle.
Over, and he's like, let me see. So I move my hands. You see, I move my hands.
Yeah.
He says, let me see, and he goes, oh yeah, nope, and he rolls back over. And I'm looking at Barry. I'm like, Barry, better start counting. He ran out of the ring to tell somebody, but then he comes back in and he starts counting. You'll see Barry come back in and he'll start counting.
Oh,
He went to go get medical help or something like that. Oh, maybe it already happened.
Who is
Maybe that was, I think, the Holy Roller.
Oh, okay.
He was watching the match from the curtain. He was the first one, and he grabbed a towel and just applied pressure to my head.
I can't
So
imagine.
I lost about they said I lost about a half a gallon of blood out of my head.
I was gonna say this the immediate how much blood you see immediately.
You
That's
see a
not a good
giant
sign.
pool of blood in the ring
Yeah.
at one point, and they were just grabbing towels and napkins, anything they could find. I was with Sarah at the time, and I remember once they got me out of there, there was like a pool of blood in the ring. And this is a vinyl canvas, so it doesn't absorb anything. It's easy clean. We did it on purpose because we used the ring so often, the canvas so often, we'd mop it off or spray it down and wipe it off, things like that. So it'd be nice and easy to clean. Well, it pulled the blood up in one spot. So she had to clean it up because no one wanted to clean it up. Everybody's afraid to.
Oh, she had to clean it all up. Oh,
It was
leaving
14 stitches
14 stitches. My God,
in my head. Yeah, I think.
I never saw this. Wow, I've heard of this story. I just never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it either until I
Well,
was looking.
it was to the point where so many people from the show called the hospital because the hospital's right around the corner.
Right.
And they had to call the restaurant to tell people to tell people to stop calling because like everybody in the audience was calling the hospital.
Is this a 24-minute video and that happened?
Yeah, because they waited for the ambulance to come, and they wheeled me out, and everybody stayed outside. They gave me a round of applause.
Holy shit!
The whole crowd stayed, man. It was a wild time. The whole crowd stayed to cheer me on because Lucky Barry did the 10 count. You missed that part. The Barry does the 10 count, and then the match winning 10 count. So,
I mean,
me and Cameron Matthews never finished this like this winning 10 count.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Yeah.
1.
I don't know if they said it was a count out or a timeout, time limit draw. I just said count. I told them to count it so we can just end the match.
Sounded like both.
Yeah.
yeah. My God, dude.
I don't know. Maybe that was. It sounded like Primer doing it on the fly. The time limit draw to end the match.
Yeah.
It was a lot of blood. Yeah, 14. So here's cool. Here's the irony of that. After I got taken to the hospital, because I'm still in gear and everything, and I left everything there. And everybody helped pack. Like everybody was really good about it. Everybody helped pack up and take care of everything. What the funny part was Cameron Matthews shows up to the hospital partially in gear to make sure I'm okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. He was getting pictures of it, my head, things like that. There's a indentation in my head because it cut through the skin and the muscle tissue and dug into my skull.
Oh my god!
That's how I got gouged in the head because they said it looks like I got something jabbed me in the head.
You got Abby'd. You can't have Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, except it was with an actual metal rod off the chair.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
So from worst
That's
bump,
the worst. Like that's not even the worst injury. You can probably find the worst injury. I would have to say that sucked just because of the aftermath. You probably could find the video. It's me. Where is it against Tim Lennox? I think it's me versus Tim Lennox in Canada, or I break my ankle. I literally land on my own leg. The canvas is in Jason Rumble's ring in Canada for a VCW show. I think it was me versus Tim Lennox, and Tim Lennox takes the world wake, which is that swinging sidewalk slam I do.
my favorite move to take by you.
Everybody was taking because they're like, wee. Well, he took it fine.
It's the funnest thing.
He swung around. He took it fine. The problem, I think that's what it was. I can't remember. I think that's what it was. But I went to do it, and the canvas wasn't tight. And it's one of those old like canvases that if you don't have it pulled tight, it starts to bunch up. If my boot gets stuck, I go down. Leg goes underneath me and it can't kick out because it's caught in the fucking canvas.
Right.
And I bucked my leg. Finish the match. I roll over, get the pin. I tell them not to kick out.
Okay, you found it. I was looking for it.
Is it?
It might be. It might be because I don't know if I wrestled one or two times, but it'll be toward the end. Look for the finish. That's how you know. Because I can't get up at one point. Yeah. It's going to be right near the ending where I can't get up. Like I literally tell Tim to stay down, and I pin him, and he rolls out.
Oh yeah, it doesn't even look like you're even getting up at this point.
Yeah, it's toward the end. I finished the match.
There you go.
Watch my leg.
Oh my gosh!
No.
Oh my gosh!
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
telling him don't. I tell him as I roll out of the ring. I can't. I'm like I'm hurt.
Back it up.
I'm back. I'm like,
Back
do
it
I
up,
want it
JP.
back? Do I want it back?
Jesus.
And I'll tell you why this would probably be the worst, and I will tell you why after.
Oh my god! Everyone watching right now is just like, what the hell, dude?
See how I see the bunch up on the canvas? Do you see the bunch
Yeah.
up on the canvas?
Yeah.
We'll
Oh my
talk about it. My foot got caught in the canvas.
Canvas.
Canvas is so far. You can see it bending when I'm stepping on it, and it gets caught.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
is gonna be tight in the canvas.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
That's why when we yell at people to tighten shit, you gotta tighten it, guys.
That's why Larry gives us shit all the time when we don't tighten it the right way.
I went to
Because
stick my feet out, and the tip of my boot got caught. So I'll tell you why this was the worst. So I'm in Canada, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. My medical insurance is not taken in Canada.
oh no.
Oh no.
So I have two options. I go to the hospital, and they have to take care of me because they're legally obligated to, and be stuck up there for God knows how long. But I know something's bad.
Right.
I know something's bad because I couldn't put weight on it. You don't see the ending of that, but eventually they get Tim out. The ref comes back. The ref comes back and helps me out back, and I hobble one-leggedly all the way to the back, and everybody's like, "What happened?" I know something's bad because you have that ball on your ankle.
Yeah.
I took my boot off, and it was gone.
Oh my god.
Oh.
So I had broken my ankle on both sides. I didn't know it, but on both sides, I'd broken it from the bone. Both of them. Because I bent my foot the wrong way. I can't go that way.
Ow.
So didn't know it that part yet. But so my options were this. It was late at night, and all the boys were tired, so they weren't going to drive through the night. I was like, well, I either tough it out overnight, and we drive back, and they drop me straight off at the hospital. We get back to the States. Or I go to the hospital there, they have to treat me, get a giant medical bill, and not be able to pay it and be stuck in Canada until because you gotta remember, I can't walk at this point. I'm like hobbling, I'm dragging my leg.
Like, how are you going to get home so easily?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get home. I can't do anything. I'm immobile. I'm immobile. I can't do anything. So I decide we go back to the promoter's house. We stay the night. I put my leg up and do what I can. They help me in by morning. My ankle is the size of a melon. I couldn't put my shoe on. Couldn't do anything. So I just put a sock on the best I could and was walking around with one sock, one shoe. And I wasn't walking. I was dragging it because I couldn't bend my ankle. So I knew something was bad. And they booked it back. We got through the border. No problem. Thankfully, they didn't pull us in. Got through the border. They didn't bring me home. They brought me to the hospital in Bangor, the one right around the corner from Cityside, the Eastern Maine.
Yeah.
Northern Light now. It was Eastern Maine then. They bring me straight there. Mind you, I got my merch. I got my gear bag. I got my actual clothing bag. I got all my stuff. They dropped me off. And they helped me inside. They wait until I get inside all situated. Then they left. I went in. They gave me x-rays. The waiting was the shitty part. As soon as I got the x-rays done, I was maybe in the room 5 minutes. Doctor walks in like, Mr. Johnson,
Hey, you done fucked
did
up.
you walk in here? Did you walk in here? I'm like, wouldn't say more walk and more of like dragged or hobbled. But yeah, I got in here. Puts the x-ray up on the screen thing, and it shows me where it's broken on both sides. Like literally, the only thing keeping my foot together was the swelling. And the muscle tissue.
You could have just been
There's
like,
2 bone breaks on both sides, so there's nothing. Right above my ankle. Not on my ankle, right above it. So I'm like, okay. Well then.
ugh.
What do we got to do? He's like, well, we got to get you in for surgery. We're going to do that first thing in the morning. We're going to put 2 metal plates in and titanium screws across. So there'll be a plate on each side, and the titanium screws going across this way to hold it all in place. Well, it's supposed to be getting in the morning. Well, there was an emergency accident in the morning,
Of course.
and I had to pull my surgeon. So it wouldn't be till that nighttime. So like it's like 7:30 at night. They finally do my surgery. Here's the irony. All that time I'm in the hospital. This girl I was talking to, we were supposed to go out that night of my surgery.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
And I hadn't talked to her because all my stuff was in 5 different places. Because I'll call it the hospital, but I can't get it. How am I going to get it? I can't walk. So I eventually get a hold of my phone and charge it and message her, and she didn't believe me. She shows at the hospital and sees my foot all up, all this stuff, and she still didn't believe it. Still didn't believe it.
Wow.
Then explains it all to her. Still didn't believe it.
Still
You're kayfabing me.
The surgeon comes in and explains he can't go anywhere. He's not going out tonight. He's not going anywhere. He can't walk. He can't use that leg. And she could not believe it, tweaked out and left. Never heard and seen from her ever since.
What the fuck, dude?
All because I couldn't take her out that night. It was so weird. It sounds like a modern era thing right now.
That sounds like a bunch of red flags right there.
I feel like you dodged.
Yeah, I was like, I just dodged a couple bullets, but so yeah, 7:30 that night, I got into the surgery. I will say this: it's easier to recover from a bone break than a muscle tear, because like that like you just have to let it heal at that point. Because you don't reteach your muscles; the muscles still work. When I tore my quad, when y'all did that fundraiser. When I tore my quad off my knee, completely off my kneecap, I had to reteach my leg how to walk.
What show was that?
No, that was that happened at
when we did the Brewer fundraiser for when I blew my quad out.
Yeah.
You fall down the stairwell.
Fall down the stairs, yeah.
My quad got ripped off my kneecap.
At a show.
No, that's the one. Everybody thinks I blew my quad wrestling. I'm like, no, I fell down the stairwell. A whole 13 steps and ripped my quad completely off my knee and had to have that surgically repaired. And that's the worst. That's the worst. Like, people want to joke about people blowing out their quads like Triple H and Kevin Nash. Like, that's just no joke.
Yeah, but
you have to reteach yourself how to walk. I got my quad was gone. It was rolled up to my top. Like, I had to unroll it, reattach it, and I had to reteach my leg to walk. Yeah. Like no one understands that. Like you have to reteach yourself, and they explain how they reattach it. They take your muscle, they put little holes in your knee, and they pull the muscles through and reattach. It's a gruesome experience, and it was the most like fun. Like it sucked. It's terrible. Shooting your leg. Imagine being a grown adult and have to teach your limb how to work again. It's like you're a baby teaching them how to do things.
I'll pass.
That can take over way worse than anything. No, that's just terrible. Like,
oh my gosh.
No.
Oh.
They said 6 to 8 months I wouldn't walk. I did it in 6.
John Cena it out, man.
Wrestling in 6. I was wrestling in 6.
When I broke my tailbone in IWE, it was almost 5 months, almost 6 months before I did anything again. You can't put a cast on that. You can't like heal your
surgery for tailbones. You're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, you're stuck with it.
Could you imagine just wearing a fucking ass cast for wrestling?
An ass cast, but you can't sit, squat, nothing.
Imagine every time he farted, the pain he was in.
Painful experience.
What's wrong, JP?
Funny, but I can imagine that's what it felt like. Every time you farted or took a shit, you probably like, so
it
bad.
hurt, dude.
Screaming in the bathrooms.
It hurt. Yeah, in a public bathroom too.
That Taco Bell must have been really bad.
It'll be all right, man. Whatever you ate, tell me what it is so I don't eat it.
Yeah, no, I'll still take that over a quad. Terrible. I'll take the tailbone.
Yeah, just anal ripping pain over a quad. Sure.
So we've had you for almost 2 hours now, and we much appreciate it. So let's
we haven't gone over anything recent. It's all like the old stuff. I think that's what
I know. We'll have you back on again, but most definitely. But let's get into like try to get into recent stuff right here with Ring Wars.
Right back there that I'm hiding with fat ass.
Yes, Ring Wars is what we want to talk to. So you're running the promotion Ring Wars. I know February 1st is the second Ring Wars. You want to go over that a little bit for everybody?
Yeah, well, first, anybody that doesn't know what Ring Wars is, it's not, like I said, it's not a promotion, it's a competition. In wrestling, like anybody that, like, to those that are smarter to wrestling or have been around it long enough, understand there's different companies, different organizations, different brands, schools, dojos, things like that. And my ideology was to bring all these groups together to compete against one another. But it had to be somebody that was an like a neutral party. And I thought, well, I'm probably the only one that can be a neutral party because I work for all these different places. So I pitched the idea to all the different promoters. Everybody loved the idea. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And they're like, but how do we? I'm going to give you a little secretive detail. In wrestling, obviously, most people know we're not hiding anything anymore. That some of the stuff is predetermined. It's
It is.
It
I didn't
is.
know that.
shut up, guys. Come on, stop trying to stop treating people like they're stupid. Here's the things that fans hate. They don't. You want to treat them with respect and should stop treating them like they're stupid. They already know. Like, don't tell a kid to his little kid to his face, but like, grown adults know.
No, it's like
Yeah, so just let's lift the veil here. And so the biggest problem that I had with most of the promoters were like, well, they don't want their people losing, which I understand. I said, well, what if we do something that is out of people's control? Like, what do you mean? Like, well, I'll stand there and I record the videos of me literally flipping a coin. Every match is won by a flip of a coin on this end. So if anybody goes, how do you pick who wins? How is that fair to everybody? I'm like, it's by fate. Flip of a coin. That's how it works. This way, no one gets disrespected. If they want to watch the video, I show them the video if they want, but it's all done by, yeah.
I love it.
Done by fate. Exactly. And that's what all the promoters said. You know what? They all shook my head and said, sounds fair. And they trust me, and I do it. And if they want to see the video, they can watch it. It's all done by fate.
So you tell me Hunter Putin can beat us on February 1st?
You won't know to the day of, and neither will the fans. You know what your focus needs to be? As I tell every person in their match, like, you're there representing your promotions. At Ring Wars, you're representing groups. The group that sent you and nominated you, some of them are sponsoring you, some of them are just nominating you. But that group that you're going in there to represent, you should be worried about not embarrassing them.
Exactly.
Because if you embarrass them, how's the promoter that's sitting there watching you perform going to feel?
Exactly.
That's what I tell people. You're not just there for yourself. You're there for your promotion, and you're there in front of not one, not two, not three, but 4 promotions and the host. So if you suck, you may lose your bookings, not just from the promotion that nominated you, but from the guy that's going to tell you, hey, not trying to pull any punches, but your match was the drizzling shits. You're probably not going to get any more work here. Like, it's not.
No wonder I'm not on Ring Wars 2.
Well,
You just say it. It's fine.
it's also it's a test. It's about the match and entertaining the fans, because the fans, at that last Ring Wars, they're hungry fans. It's a smaller, more intimate venue, but it's an event hall where the bar is in the event room. There's a bar and kitchen in the event room, so you can get all your shit. Right, you don't have to leave the room unless you're going to the bathroom.
Right.
So everything's right there at all times.
You were here, Joey.
And the show itself, I'm the reason, Dickie. That's clever. I'll get to that in a minute. But essentially, it's a very intimate show. It's a very intimate show, and it's a limited seating event. That's a lot of things people don't understand too. They're like, why is there only a limited amount of seats? It's a small venue on purpose. It's an intimate show. It's early on, and literally, there's only like 100. The venue doesn't even have 100 seats. They have 85, and I rent some from Randy, who provides the ring from Limitless, the school's ring. He brings it with the ring, and I get another whatever he has at the dojo, which is roughly 20 to 30 seats. So I only can sell like 120 at a time, and then the rest is standing room only. Plus, even if I had extra seats, I can only fit 150 in there anyway, max, and that's squeeze them in there.
That's like
It's an intimate bar. It's an intimate show, and the fans are very responsive. It's also a very competitive show. It's treated as such. There's no belts. There's medallions. The idea behind the medallions is the team with the most medallions wins the event. So whichever group you are, whether it be, I don't know, MPW, MEW, Let's Wrestle, or Crown of Maine, whatever group you're representing, whatever group has the most medallions at the end of the event wins that event. So each event is about winning the medallions, not about belts. In wrestling, there's so many belts right now, they've lost their prestige. Also, there's people that randomly, put them on top of their car and let them fly off the top. I had to do it. Everybody knows about it. You're screwed.
Everybody knows about it except for the podcast.
He's like, right. Also, yeah, that's also why you're not on Ring Wars 2, because little Joey Nails got 110 votes. That's why you're not on Ring Wars. You blame Joey Nails. And the fans, because the fans voted.
Coming from the guy that says, "Oh, poll results are jaded, so we'll just have everyone comment on posts because it's more intimate." And
It
I
is.
really saw how that went.
Yeah, it went great. Lou Jacobs and JP did not. JP, you were like third, I think.
How many
Lou
of those
Jacobs
fans
and
of Lou
Joey
Jacobs
Nails, the two
went
people that no one thought were going to win, were like neck and neck the whole race.
Those Lou Jacobs fans would have came to the show to watch Lou Jacobs perform.
The point of it is effort, sir. They went to the effort to push so hard to get people to comment.
Coming from the man
And
that said,
guess what?
"Oh,
I got
polls
all
are
likes
jaded."
and follows and subscribes. Look how mad he is. He's so cute, cat. Look, see how mad he is. He's so
I
cute
think
right
he's
now.
more mad about the belt shit.
He's more mad at. He's like, come on, I had to take the plunge.
They
1, 2,
have-
keep the gloves up. 1, 2 punch. He's so mad at me right
The
now.
belts didn't disappear. The belts are in my possession. They're just in pieces.
It only took 3 weeks to finally get out.
One is in
So he
pieces.
says it on the
other-
podcast.
The
I
other
didn't even
one's
see the
fine.
condition.
The other one's fine. The other one's like has a small crack in it, but
What do you mean? You destroyed the custom one that was super expensive. The one that could have the plate replaced, you just scuffed it. The other one that's not easily replaceable, he destroyed into pieces.
yeah.
Brilliant.
Guess who's working free next weekend? Yeah, Steve Thumbs.
Yeah, for a while.
He's working
Working
free
off
for a
that tab.
while.
Oh, the one that's not busted. That'll be one show, but like yeah, the other one, yeah.
He's working off a tab right now. I'll tell you, that's a really big tab. How much graphic work and in-ring work is that going to cost you? A lot. Damn. But yeah, so I did the poll way that way. I didn't do polls. Here's why I don't do poll. I wanted to channel the traffic to the page. So by people commenting and liking and following the page's analytics went. Ooh.
So how many comments?
That's why a poll doesn't help anything but the poll, the people that provide the poll.
How many comments were on that post? It was like hundreds.
Jesus. There was hundreds. Like I hate it out of it. Hold on, I'll tell you. Wait a minute.
Wait, oh yeah,
What?
you figured it out.
I'm gonna just add all the totals. So Joey Nails won with 110 votes. So there's 110. These are just the votes too. There were comments, but we're just counting the votes. And then, like I said, Lou Jacobs got 90, so that's 200.
Yep.
You got 66, so that makes you 266.
Yep.
Maverick had 23, so that makes it. We'll say 290. We'll just round up by one. 290. Sammy Matthews had 21. So yeah, there's your other. So it's 310. Primer had 8. 318
The
votes.
most tenured person had the least amount of votes.
I didn't create this shit. I just had to count them all, man. And I counted it not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Oh,
3 fucking times. I was hurting my eyeballs by the time I got done counting it, and I did it 3 times so it was coherent. But yeah, so well over 300 votes, and there was probably a good 500 to 600 comments. It was wild, something like that. Get it? Wild pun. The Pundertaker. You'll find it. Keep going. If you keep going up, it'll show the graphic. Fans' choice. It'll say it right above it.
That's what I'm looking for. I didn't see it.
Keep going. You're almost there.
Oh,
Keep going. Keep going.
There's no more going.
You're on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
That's on the first show.
You're on the event page. That's why.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh, Kyle is-
Main ring war. There you go.
Yeah.
Slide on down there. There you go. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, right here.
Keep going. No, keep going.
Oh,
Keep going.
it looked like
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Almost there.
Keep
Keep
going.
going. There you go.
There you go.
How many comments?
338.
Nice. With how many shares? It's 85.
85
That's a lot
shares.
shared. That's what I'm saying. The page content went up for follows and likes.
Look at all the
And
Joey nails.
JP's like, I hate my life right now. But you see, that's why I did that. It helped the page. How many times did Joey's parents vote? Sadly, none. I don't, because Toby Nelson's one of the referees. People that were staff or on the event couldn't vote.
Yo, that right there though. That's when I
I
saw
will
the
say
graphic,
also shout out to Chris Rex for these graphics. They are bad sweet.
Yeah. So this is what we got for matches announced right now. We got the women's
So far,
match.
yeah. Most recent is the ladies bout, the first one in Ring Wars history, and it's a first encounter between Let's Wrestle's Big Juicy versus MEW's Nat Castle. We're going to this one for you here if you want. This one's that everybody's kind of excited for. As you saw, if you all were at Ring Wars 1, you saw Lee Miller cost Alexander Lee his match against Wesley Pipes, giving MPW the win and the medallion. Well, now Lee Miller's ironically been nominated by MPW to compete at Ring Wars. And of course, Alexander Lee and Lee Miller both wanted a piece of each other. But to make sure the kendo stick doesn't come into play, we have a special guest referee, a man who's not been in the ring in over 3 years. Brandino Davis.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, everybody's been like, this is sweet. I'm like, yeah, everybody. And he's congrats. He got his surgery. He's great. He's feeling great. He's gained weight. He's looking good, feeling great. He's excited to be there. So I'm excited to see him. I haven't seen him in a hot minute. So
I know I haven't seen him in a while either.
Yeah. And then we were talking about this earlier, the Wild versus Hyper Poutine. The match that you guys have had this match before, but the last time this happened, you guys shelved Ray C.
Yeah.
For a few months.
He shelved himself, but yeah.
It's payback time. As Hyper Poutine's looking for revenge against the Wild. However, as we all know, from Crown of Maine, Hyper Poutine are not exactly getting along. So
yeah.
Will they be able to see eye to eye and get the revenge? Or the Wild hook up the medallions. Now, the thing is, with tag team matches, it's not just for one medallion, it's for 2. So this could be a game changer for anybody. Normally, with singles matches or a triple threat or a 4, there's only one medallion to win. With tag matches, it's 2. So literally, this could be a game changer for either group. 2 medallions are on the line.
That's cool.
Big Cat, you better win for MPW.
I hope fate's on my side. We'll find out.
It's a flip of a coin, fellas. It's a matter of fates. We have the Cluster Jam now. This match is still going to happen, except Lou Jacobs will not be involved, sadly. He was the runner-up in the vote, so we were going to let the winner and the runner-up both have a spot. However, with Lou Jacobs hurt, we hope all the best for him. I hope he gets well soon. He was really looking forward to this. He has, I believe, a fracture in his spine. He's going to be able to compete for a while. So it's just going to be the 4. Joey Nails versus Chris Rex versus Chad Casanova versus the Donkey Boy. 1 fall to a finish. Only one man will walk out with a medallion.
I kind of
Joey Nails is not a representative in the company. He's representing the fans. So
you can still make it a 5-person match.
Nope. I'm good.
Fate, flip of the.
I'm afraid you'd break the medallions like you do belts.
Yeah, I'll leave it on the hood.
How about those snazzy hats? Wait, go back.
Oh yeah, go back. Hey, you know what?
See, look now.
Back and I'm wearing
The hats are great. Here, I specifically got these ones for Tony Atlas here. If you want to see those red, white, and blue ones, those were specifically because obviously Tony Atlas is on the show, and I thought red, white, and blue. Yep, and then also for those of you that are good old Manish and like your flannel, I got the flannel one.
I was gonna say I might actually have to get the flannel.
You might have to get both. These are a limited edition. Every show we have limited edition merch, which is the Ring Wars stickers. They have a specifically one for every event. So every event has its limited edition stickers and hats. Every event. It's kind of like a collector's thing. So
what's
the
the price?
one from the first one, there's only a couple Ring Wars 1 hats left. There's like no stickers left. I apologize, but there's plenty of new Ring Wars 2 stickers and obviously the Ring Wars 2 hats. And once they're gone, they're gone.
I was just happy that you got
hats are $20. Hats are $20. They're affordable for everybody. Hats are $20. Stickers are $5. So you can get them right at the merch table. My friend Meg, who works at Carolinas, will be working the merch table for me. She's lovely, does a good job. She you grab behind the hats. Like I said, though, there's limited quantities of the certain hats. So you see the ones on the table, and you're like, oh, there's a bunch. I'm like, well, there's only a certain amount of each type. So if you want one, you got to get it early. Stickers, there's about 50 stickers. You get one, great. You don't, they run out, they're gone. Also, the Ring Wars 1 DVD is out, but there's only a limited quantity left. There's only 20 copies left. So if anybody wants one, you got to get one when you can.
Oh.
Some of you already got some. These are talent announcements. Also, there'll be more match announcements. There'll be another one on Monday, and every Monday leading up to the event. We are adding a bonus match to the event. So instead of the normal 6 matches that we do on every Ring Wars, there will be 7 because an anonymous sponsor come in. I'm not going to say who right now because I'm going to announce it
Per session.
on the post, respectfully. But an anonymous sponsor came through when the Fans' Choice bout came along and donated some money so that some of the runner-ups could have a match. So, there you go. And now JP's like, why aren't I picked?
Are you
Sorry.
Per sessions might actually have to donate money so that fucking JP can run.
What did I do? My God.
Well, you broke belts, so that's the first thing.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, if belts are supposed to be important in wrestling, why are we smashing them across the pavement?
Because we're okay. Well, clearly the context has not been told correctly.
No, it's not. I'm messing with you. Obviously, no.
Are you gonna hold that against me? Is that what?
I'm gonna keep poking you like the bear with a stick. Like, I bet he doesn't like this. I'm gonna keep poking you with this.
I was cleaning out my garage. I keep the belts in a belt bag, both belt bags.
No longer.
And yeah, basically, I was cleaning out my garage, and I took the belts and I turned around. ADHD kicked in. I put them on top of the car, continued cleaning, and then I was done. I went back inside. I woke up the next morning and I went to work. And about an hour into me being at work, I then all of a sudden got this sudden dread over my entire mind and was like, did I forget the belts on top of the car? And lo and behold, I messaged Hannah and she found them. I would have hoped they'd just fallen into the driveway. No, they were about a quarter mile up on Route 2.
Oh no!
And the MPW one is still inside of its bag, and it just it has a slight crack around one side of the main plate. Other than that, it looks totally fine.
It's a hardcore belt. That's character.
Yeah, honestly, you wouldn't even know that it's there.
However, the hardcore belt for Crown of Maine has been obliterated.
It has been absolutely obliterated. And the bag that it was in, the bag exploded. Like I don't know what hit it.
Like a paintball bag. That was like I think it was a paintball gun bag, right?
A thick bag. The belt bag was nothing. And it was fine.
No longer. You are the hardcore maniac. You are now JP O'Reilly, the destroyer of belts.
Randy Orton was the legend killer. He's the belt destroyer.
Belt destroyer.
I'm gonna come out with it. I have the leather.
You should all rig him and bring a belt to the show, even if we're not wearing pants that require a belt. Just to fuck it up. Here's a belt for you to destroy.
Immediately start pulling at people's belts and just ripping them.
I'm like, this could be perverse and not allowed. But yeah. Tony Atlas is on the show.
Question. Yes. Like, why a picture when he's in his 30s and not like a?
I will give you an analogy for you guys to understand it. So, I've had a bunch of people actually ask me this, and I'm going to give you this analogy. So, if you have an event and you're hosting this event, there's a couple of reasons why. 2 in particular. You're hosting an event with someone famous on it. Let's say it's non-wrestling related. Let's say I have a meet and greet planned with, I don't know, Dennis Rodman on it. Okay. Am I going to put a picture of Dennis Rodman now or when he was with the Chicago Bulls and won a championship?
Let's look up Dennis Rodman right now.
You'll see the difference. Look up both right now. Put it on the screen too.
Oh my God. Oh God.
Okay, now you gotta put it on the screen. You can't just do that.
Oh no, I'm getting
Dennis Rodman on the screen right now. In his picture right now. Okay, now look at one when he was with the Chicago Bulls. When it was his heyday, when he won the championships and it was like the premier team in basketball.
Yeah.
Or even when he was in the WCW for those hot minutes with NWO. You're gonna put that picture because that's when he was at his peak. That's also how everybody remembers him. Now let's attain it to wrestling. Okay. So let's say I had Ric Flair on the show, since we were talking about Ric Flair earlier, because Robbie Ellis, Ric Flair, legends of wrestling things. Let's say if you put Ric Flair on the show, you're gonna put a picture of Ric Flair now, or from when like he won one of the WCW or WWF championships.
That's true. Okay, I understand.
So, for everybody that says that, now on the other side, the other second, because I said there's two reasons. That was the first one. The second one is, do you think the person who is a legend or if someone famous sees themselves on a poster, do you think they want to see themselves now or when they were on the marquee?
That's
They're
true.
going to see when they were on the marquee because it brings them back to the time.
That's
Good, great times. As you get older, you saw that video of me when I was younger with you in it. JP.
Yeah,
Look at us then.
that's over
Look at us then.
years ago.
Look at us then. Now look at us now.
Because now,
You know what I mean?
JP,
As you get
might miss that
older,
picture.
those times when you're younger bring up better memories. And to me, Tony's old. He's in great shape still, but he's getting older. And I want him to remember the good times. So if I can, and when I showed him that poster, I was at I came to see him, to talk to him about it when he was at the Phoenix Pro show in Brewer. And he looked, I showed him my phone. He could just grab my phone and held it. He's like, Eric. It's the first time he actually fully said my name like Eric, not Irk. That's a good looking. He said, that's a good looking poster, Eric. Can you make sure to get me a couple of those so I can take that and keep it home with me? I said, yes, I will. So I'm going to give him some of those, and I'm also going to give him one of the Ring Wars 2 hats. He's going to get the first one. Just going to give it to him. Because I'm getting older, and I get it. And now I understand it more. So to all the people that say, oh, it's not what he's in, it doesn't look like he's now. I'm like, so you want him to feel bad? You want him to feel bad, or you want him to feel happy? Because I rather put a smile on his face and have him have a good time. Because we don't know. Tony's getting old. We don't know when's the last time he gonna wrestle.
he's in his mid or
70.
late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this also goes back to one final thing. I know we've been doing this for a minute. There's people that don't get it last chance. And we'll go back to Robbie Ellis. Robbie Ellis, when he didn't get a choice when he had to stop wrestling. He had to because he physically couldn't. He was my champ. I had to be champ. And he dropped the belt because he was going over to Italy for a vacation with his family. He does it every year. He has a house over there. And he also wrestled over there. Well, he went on his trip. He wrestles over there, and then he came back. And I was going to put the belt back on him. The weekend he was literally at a show in Cornville, Maine. He was out back when he got a phone call from two of them. One from his doctor and one for his wife.
Oh.
I'm not going to say what was said. That's all his info. But he came to me crying and said he couldn't wrestle anymore. And there's reasons behind that, and that's his personal stuff. I'm not putting that out there.
Yeah.
But to see a grown man his age crying, and he hugged me and he thanked me for everything. And I didn't see him again for years after that until a random Chikara event I saw him. He used to wrestle for Chikara for Mike Quackenbush.
Does he
And
live in
even then he hugged me and said hi to me and everything. But like,
from Maine, or did he live out of state?
Robbie Ellis lives in Portland area, I think.
He's in Portland. Okay, I thought
He
so.
had an art gallery down there. That's what he did for a living. He's bought and sold art and ran auctions.
Oh,
He
wow.
got art pieces, and that's what he did every year for a living. Yeah, so he didn't get to. So whenever I can put a smile on someone's face that's been doing this long enough, and that's the one thing I can do, I'm gonna do it. You know, and people won't give me shit about it, like, oh, that's not how he looks now. I'm like, you should be happy you're getting to see him compete,
Right.
because there's gonna be one day where he can't no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's gonna be a time he can't do this anymore. Same thing with me. You know, we're all gonna get older. There's gonna be time we're not doing this no more. You're gonna remember the good times. You want to remember the shitty times.
Right.
Right.
I know I just swerved this whole thing and made it feel more emotional now, but
No, it's
now
good
that makes
content.
sense.
Yeah. No, it's great.
And also, the last part is when you see that Tony's an old school wrestler. He's been around for decades. And I'm almost 40. But there's some people coming to this event that are older than me. I remember watching him in the WWF, and him. And I've had someone ask me. I remember watching him win the tag belts with Rocky Johnson. And I said, "Who?" And they bought a ticket to the event. So them seeing that, and then coming to the show and seeing them there because they remember him from that time.
Right.
That's what he looked like then. It's an attachment thing. It's just like, I know Hogan's in the negative news right now, but like if we all, when we're kids, see Hogan and oh my God, that's so awesome, and we're all excited, and then we see him now, he doesn't look anything like when he was at his peak. He looks older, but like we assess from our brain and that stimulation from in our childhoods or when we were growing up watching that stuff. It's attachment. And we see that, and that's what's going to make us want to come and see that because we're going to appreciate it. That's how we know. We associate. And that's with anything, not just wrestling. Be actors. You know? You see a picture of Mel Gibson now. We'll go when Mel Gibson was in Lethal Weapon. Totally different. Right?
Yeah.
Stallone when he was in Rocky or Rambo. And then look at him when he's in the Expendables. Totally different.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's
Well,
association.
yeah. Well, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, no worries, guys. I know we can go on forever. There's plenty of other shit to talk about. But yeah, that's Ring Wars. There's also a week from now, there's MPW and MEW coming up. I don't leave them out because they are coming. And I am MEW's champion and intergender champion. I'm also the king of New England.
My
Favorite fucking promo.
right now is all of
King is speaking, you silence you. Dare besmirch me? How dare you?
we need
Shut
more.
up, turn up your nose.
We need more King Johnson promos.
Yes, please. Please.
Everybody loves the
That
King.
promo is so
Hello,
fucking funny.
see you. Yes,
We
sir.
have
It's
to
see
keep
you.
doing
I
that
like
for the
you.
whole year.
I like you. I like it. I don't like him. I like you. I like you. I don't like the one with the cat. He breaks things. He can go away.
This is the per session.
I thought if I give you my cat, if I give you my crown to polish, you would drop it and
This
break it.
thing's already broken. He's a disabled cat, so it can't get broken anymore.
So you break belts and cats.
No, he was broken when I got him.
Oh, he was broken when you got him?
Yeah.
So you're taking care of a disabled cat? That's very sweet of you.
Yes, that is very nice. Sorry.
Stop breaking shit, though.
All right. Well, we got to do this again sometime.
Yeah, the king will come back with his royal court.
We definitely got to do this again because
Everybody loves the king voice. Like, please turn the king. Like, I'll put my light switch. You want me to turn on the voice? Okay, I'm right here. And
still my favorite fucking
I have
promo.
feelings. Damn it, I have feelings.
You
I'm
have
not
to do this
your
until
king.
the
I have
next
feelings. I am a man. Damn it, I'm a man.
You're gonna have to do this until the next game in New England, just because it'd be fitting all the way until the next one.
That's the problem. I was talking to Aiden Andrews. He's like, "You're the king of New England, but you can't have it. I want you to do it forever because it's hilarious, but I don't want you to do it forever because
Well, just have you win it again.
seriously.
That's all. You're just gonna win it a second time. Put it back to
Well,
back.
the point is of the crown being king of New England is it's like the Money in the Bank thing. I cash it in anytime, any place, anywhere. And it's like, but then I can't be the king anymore. I can't be royalty. Can't tell people how they besmirch me in my own royal court.
Oh yeah, you haven't even cashed that in yet. That's right.
Nope.
No, maybe I will on you, hardcore boy. Oh, wait a minute. You broke the belt. I don't want that. It's broken.
Wouldn't you want to do that anyways? Let's be honest.
No.
Eric Johnson's too old to be doing any of that.
Excuse me?
Oh no!
Oh, listen, I may already be dead by the end of Friday anyway. So.
Oh yes, Cruel is about to give you a royal ass whipping.
Listen, the open challenge is still an open challenge. Anyone can answer it. If somebody
Oh,
else,
we know what's going to happen. You know his big ass is going to come out there and kill you.
nah, I doubt it. He can. Somebody else will look at him funny.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll come out and I'll shove my crown straight up your rectum.
Is that an invitation?
I wouldn't tell you. I'm going to cash in when I feel like it. Like, I'm going to technically just give you a hint and then tell you, and then go on. No, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to wait till you're tired and hurt and go, oh, I want to go home, which is usually after 5 minutes of running your matches. But anyway, I would wait until you're tired and blown up and hurt. And I come out to you and I shove my scepter right up your ass, and then I crash in, and then I'm going to win, and then I'm going to realize the belt's broken, and then I'm going to slap you in the face with it.
Poor JP.
Let the record show, though, that Eric Johnson is the reason why JP O'Reilly exists. So whose fault?
I've already apologized for this, sir. I do not want responsibility. I deny everything.
Poor JP is just getting his ass kicked ever since he's gone on this podcast.
10 years wasted.
All right.
It would have been sooner if you hadn't left and came back like 18 times. Ooh.
Ooh. He
He
froze.
did do that. I did try to warm in advance. Is he pausing? Like, is he frozen?
Oh, my internet crashed out.
The internet just
Because
crashed.
me talking like the king, and it was like, oh, we like Eric, but he's just going to besmirch JP O'Reilly this entire podcast and tell him how horrible he is.
Completely scorched.
Oh, yeah, sir, I'm going to go take a JP O'Reilly here in a moment once I'm done with this podcast.
Well,
Oh, he's still here. Where's been the rest of the crew? There's been no one else. There's like 8 of you. Isn't that some podcast? There's like 8 of you.
Dylan Nix had family that he's taking care of, and Levi's in the middle of a snowstorm. That's why he's not on.
Power went out.
He hopped on for like 2 or 3 different times. He hopped on, hopped off, hopped on, hopped off.
Power went out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam and Matthews suck my
That's
dick.
what happens when you're on the Rockies.
Samuel
It's not just Coors Light, it's snow and stuff too.
Oh shit. Well, Eric, why don't you do some plugs and you can get out here and take a JP.
Okay, so what is it? Well, today is Friday, so a week from today, you can find me, your king, Sir Eric of Johnson, at Maine Premier Wrestling in Old Town, Maine. Go to Maine Premier Wrestling on Facebook to get your tickets if you want them. If you don't, I don't care because I'm the king and you're not. Also, in non-kingly fashion.
Transition.
Sorry, did you want me to get off screen and come back on? Hold on.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better? Like, it's a podcast, right? I'm not going in my own home. Weirdo. Anyway, that Saturday, I'll be in Franklin, Maine for MEW, defending my MEW championship against Jason Maverick. I will say Jason Maverick has deserved this shot. He fought the odds to get here, and he's here. And I know a lot of people have been backing that horse for a while, hoping he's going to win that race eventually, because obviously he's got a lot of horses in the race. So I'm going to tell you, though, this old horse, he plays dirty, and he never loses. So he have his work cut out for him. And, of course, we have Ring Wars on February 1st. We've got a giant-size poster right. Hold on a minute.
That's a good guy's poster.
Yeah, the big, yeah, well, we give it away in the 50-50 raffle, so exciting. You can buy tickets for that at the event. Sadly, there is only about 18 seated tickets left. That's because we're a limited seating event. Then it's standing room only. So February 1st, Ring Wars, Palmyra, Maine, Somerset Poorhouse. Go to Maine Ring Wars for tickets. Do it soon because every week I'm selling tickets and when I run out, it always sold out last time. It's going to sell out this time. It's just going to happen. It always does. And then I'm also going to plug the Sunday show, which is February 2nd. Let's Wrestle's coming back to Milford, where I just saw that it just got announced, I think either today or last night. Title for title. It's the Vets Club. Me and Alexander Lee defending against the Classic Core. But they're also putting up their belts. So it's the MEW Tag Champions versus the Let's Wrestle Tag Champions. So the title's going to change hands. Just a matter of who's going to get it. Someone's taking. Winner takes it all. Winner takes it all. Loser takes the fall. I'm not going to sing the whole song. You're not paying me enough for that.
No, not paying you at
I
all.
listen, I do karaoke enough during the week for a living. I don't need to be doing this. Okay, don't need to be doing it for extra. I mean, I'm not even getting paid. I'm doing this for free because I'm being nice. Your king requires payment for his services being rendered. He takes it in the form of Chinese food, pizza, in coffee.
The next time I see you.
Wow.
I would say it's also in the form of championship belts, but you know, someone over here breaks them all the time, so we can't. Got him again. I'm gonna be on him about it forever. He knows it too. That's why he's like, I hate my life right now. He's so mad at
Well,
me.
these next 2 weeks are gonna be great.
He's also mad he's not on Ring Wars, but JP, I'm sorry. Joey Nails won the vote.
And yet someone got injured and left a spot open. It's still just like, nah, fuck this guy.
Fuck you, JP.
I'm not even wrestling on my own show, you asshole. He's like, I can't have a spot.
And there's a bonus match. So
Give me the spot.
anybody needs me, I'll be sitting right in that chair. on that day
Well,
that
hey.
watched the Rumble.
Hey, you're
See,
not in the,
he should have offered to come to the show. He's like, no, I'm going to sit here and watch the Royal Rumble. He didn't even say he's coming to the show. He lives down the street from the venue. He's like, I'm going to sit here and watch that Royal Rumble, which he can watch anytime he wants to, instead of going down the street and supporting the local show like you should have. Maybe I would have changed my mind, but now you can lick my taint.
Well, hey, yeah, I know he can't be on Ring Wars 2, but is there a possibility in the future there's a Ring Wars 3?
Well, that's the thing is, well, you guys know how it really works with Ring Wars. Like the fans' choice was a fans thing. I wanted to do it just to see how the response would go, and it went great. But with Ring Wars, I'm happy I get to explain this because I didn't get to before. But Ring Wars, I don't book the talent. I don't choose the talent. Hell, I even put myself as the alternate in the case that someone gets hurt or doesn't show up because I don't even plan on myself to wrestle. The talent is nominated by the promotions, much like you, Kat. You were nominated by MPW. You and your partner, Dylan Nix, The Wild, were nominated by MPW, along with your cohorts, Jake Hess and Lee Miller. They were all nominated. And then over here for Let's Wrestle, Storm, Donkey, Alexander Lee, all nominated by Let's Wrestle, along with Big Juicy, who is facing MEW's Nat Castle, and so on and so forth. People you're nominated and sent to me by the promotion. So it's not up to me. I do usually book a alternate for my shows. However, because I'm not wrestling, it's cheaper and easier for me to be the alternate myself.
Right.
Also, there's so many people on the show, there's no point to having one. So like with the Cluster Jam, someone's out, but there's still 4 people in the match. So do I fill the spot and give it to somebody else, or do I let the people that are in the match have the chance to represent not just themselves, but their respective promotions more? Because with that, I don't want to take away from someone's opportunity to show what they can do. When there was 5 people, cool. But now that there's 4, it's not much of a difference. These people still get to fight it out, and that's why I didn't put someone else in there. I didn't want to take away someone's opportunity to work for it and really want to show and represent their promotion respectfully.
Right.
So that's why I didn't have a replacement there, JP.
But will there be a Ring Wars 3?
I understand.
There is a Ring Wars 3, and I did send you a little something if you check your messenger.
Oh, you got it in there.
Oh, that's
Huzzah. Oh,
Huzzah.
There's porn's popping up there. There's porno popping up there. Oh, that's a Ring Wars 3 graphic. So Friday, I haven't been to Fairfield Community Center in years. Since the IDB days.
Yeah.
I recently contacted them.
That's my
There's
hometown.
been some changes. First off, they are limiting wrestling in the venue.
I wonder why, JP.
There's so many people I guess wrestling people in general have ruined the venue.
Yep.
That they're only letting select people in. One of them being Larry Huntley and the NAWA because they've been consistent. The other one they let in only because of my tenure from running there for years and never having any problems, and because I name dropped the previous person that used to run used to rent out the community center. Now the treasurer does it, but the person I name dropped that person, and that person said yes, he was good for many a year, and they remembered who I was. They're going to let me do it as long as I don't screw up the venue, things like that. They're going to let me do this. So try it.
Doors.
What?
As it break some chairs, lock the doors.
That's how people do it. People they destroy buildings. That's why it's hard for a lot of wrestling companies now in Maine. If you notice, a lot of venues, there's a lot less venues now.
Yep.
And this is the reason. Just people are taken care of. So I'm going in. This is a test run because the problem with Palmyra, I love the Somerset Poorhouse, but it's a small venue and they don't even have 100 chairs. Well, at the Fairfield Community Center, they have over 200 chairs.
Yeah.
So I need if I'm selling out a venue that has 100 seats in it, I need a bigger venue. So we're gonna give this a try.
It's only 25 minutes down the road. Really.
Exactly. So we were gonna announce it on the 1st, but I figured I'd give it to you guys for a little skip.
Thank you.
Folks, per
Thank
session.
you. Thank you.
So you guys get it here. We'll be having those little things will be handed out the door too on the 1st. We're going to do a discount too. If anybody buys a ticket that day, they will take $5 off every ticket they buy. So,
Wow.
so they buy it that day. And you, like I said, we usually with the ringside seats, they sell out in the first 2 weeks we have them on sale. Yeah. So I anticipate that'll probably happen. It's going to be, we already got some talent locked in. I'm not giving that away. It's going to be a good little show. Some people I've already been reached out to by promotions. So if you haven't heard anything yet, don't be afraid. Don't be like, oh, no, God damn it. That you got to wait.
Right.
Some people have, some people haven't. So it's a Friday, March 14th, Fairfield Community Center. Tickets will be on Main Ring Wars. 15 for general admission, 20 for front row. And we're going to try to pack them in like the old days, good old IWE days back in the day. We're going to try it. So,
and we're going to do it on National Pie Day. So maybe there'll be some pie involved.
Pie Day? Did you just go look that up?
No.
You were earlier. You're still hungry?
I mean, yes, but no. I didn't look it up.
Eating buffoon?
Listen, okay.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you? Like Twitter,
Old
TikTok.
School EJ, and all the platforms except I don't do Twitter. Twitter's kind of toxic. And it's dying out. So yeah. I barely use my Instagram, but I still use it to advertise my DJ gigs and wrestling. Mostly on Facebook and Snapchat, but all of them are the same. Old School EJ. So if you look up Old School EJ on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you'll find me where I'm at DJing or wrestling or both. There's a lot. If anybody checks my Snap Map to find where I'm at for gigs, I'm all over the place.
Okay.
Cinema wrestling, I'm all over the place. So that's how you find out everything. For Ring Wars stuff, it's Main Ring Wars on Facebook. You can get your tickets there, or you can just hit me up, Old School EJ, on like I said, Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we got to do this again. Like, this is fun. Like, we're thinking about doing changing up the podcast a little bit, or just doing guests, and then doing maybe like a news.
That's smart because I watched Peace, the last one I think it was with Smiley.
Yep.
Yeah, because Smiley worked for me one time way back. He was working with the group Super Lucha Explosiva, and was up here. And they were doing something with the Kabang Festival back in the day. And he would come up and was there, and they just wanted to work. We were doing our own show in Brewer, and they were they were doing the Kabang Festival. This was one of the first years they're doing it. They don't do it anymore, but they were wrestling on it, right in the middle of downtown. And there were a bunch of them in town. He was one of them. I want to say Andy Lee Ray, which is a Pokemon kid.
Yeah, I remember that dude.
Who else? I think Mark Quinn. I'm trying to remember. There was a bunch of them that came up together from down that way, from the House of Glory area, that were trained down there. They were just trying to get work, and that's where I first saw them. And I said, look, I'm booked up, but I will put matches together so you guys, while you're up here, can get some work. Because a lot of them were super green, hadn't got a lot of work yet. And I put him on the show. So he did work for IDB at one point. So, yeah. I just thought I watched pieces of it, and I was like, oh, wow, the irony of that. That just happened. But I did see how long it was, and then you guys would do your recaps on stuff. I'm like, it's a long, usually these type of podcasts where you're interviewing people, especially if people are asking questions or you guys have your questions and then there's other questions, it's going to take a long time. And then usually that's why I'm not going to lie, that's why I usually avoid some of these podcasts, because I'll be on here and everybody wants to hear stories, and I got tons of them, and it's like, God.
That's what we're finding out.
Till midnight. But, it's part of the territory. And I know a bunch of people hit me up. I think Versace Stoner has been trying to get me on his for a while, and I'm going to hit him up, and I am going to do his because I do want to do it because I did tell him a while back I'm just going to do it. I'm a man of my word, so I'm going to do it. But a bunch of people have asked, independent ones. I think a while back, Randy wanted me to go on one of their podcasts with Limitless stuff. I never did it. I just didn't work out time-wise because I was busy with DJing so much at one point. So I'm going to try to do them. It just, for me, it's hard for me because I work nights, and most podcasts are when?
Nice.
So, I cannot, but podcasts, I'm doing them for free, but like my day job being a DJ, I get $100 an hour. So I can't constitute throwing that money down the tubes when I
exactly.
doing a free podcast. I love. I'm not trying to be rude. I just
I agree with
my family. If y'all want to keep me running, like hosting events like Ring Wars 3, I got to pay for it somehow. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
Got to keep the lights on.
I tell people as soon as I've learned from IWE, I don't mind if I break even, but if I lose money hosting events, I probably won't do them. It's just, it's not, I lost so much money from IWE from like TV perspective. That's why I said the one thing I regret was TV because, man, if I get the money for that back, I could tell you what.
Right.
And I did 2 runs of that, 2 runs of TV. The second run was more expensive than the first run, but we never got into that. But like,
I worked at the station when the second one was going. I'd look up occasionally and be like, "Oh, I'm on TV." We're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, Saturdays at noon on Fox 22 was the slogan for the longest time. So, and people remember it, dude. Like, I didn't realize how many people remember that stuff for how long we ran. Like, we were Saturday afternoon wrestling. We literally were part of people's childhoods. So, like, and if you ask Mike Turner from MEW, that's how he remembers me. He remembers watching me from IWE TV and then to be on fire. And that's how he remembers me, and that's why he has this thing there. He wants me to do one time for MEW. He wants me to be Jive and Jimmy one time. He's like, I'm gonna have you do it one time. I'm like, I'm gonna charge you $500 to do it. He's like, I don't care. I'm gonna have you do it. I'm like,
The full everything, the music, the disco,
everything. That would be awesome.
Dude, it was a jam, Jive and Jimmy. There's a whole other story of why I stopped doing it. That's a whole nother story, whole nother can of worms. I mean, I'll tell it if you want me to, but that's a whole nother story of why like Jive and Jimmy was a thing. People loved it, man. It was. I probably if I stuck with it, maybe I could have done something with it. But the reason why I didn't was I thought someone was literally doing the gimmick that I was meant to do. I thought meant to do. So that's the short end of the stick. The long end, I'll try to sum it up quickly for you, so you guys can at least hear the story.
Okay.
I was working for On Fire. I was their TV champ, as I told earlier. And the Savoldis used to be connected to WWE back in the day. I don't know if any of you know that. And what had happened was, around the time, a little individual was coming on TV called Brodus Clay.
Yeah.
So I kind of put this 2 and 2 together. I did some work and I did some math. So what had happened was the Savoldis that got hit up, I was getting asked about, I guess. I don't know what the deets were. They didn't really give me full glory details. And then they referred the call to Tony. And then Tony took the call and called, and then Tony told me about it, what he remembers of it. They were asking 20 questions like who trained me, how long I've been in the business, how big I was, like, all that fun stuff, like how tall, how much I weigh. They were asking a bunch of questions just to see, because back in this time frame, like I said, like there was no viral shit. You knew people from someone vouched for somebody, or they see the work and then they get a hold of you from so and so that knows so and so that knows so and so. It was one of those situations, and so the Savoldis got the call first from them, and then they called Tony, and I never heard anything about it. Shortly after that, Brodus Clay showed up on TV. So I took upon myself to stop being Jive and Jimmy, which was right around the time that program with Sarah D'Erico happened, where I actually took my name rights. I did it on purpose to get out of it, but also, like, he literally would come out with the disco ball, which I used to do. I used to bring the disco ball to the events and have to set the disco ball up and come out with the disco ball. Same music style, same outfit where I wore the ring pretty much. Just his looks better because it's from the WWE, you know. That's why I stopped. And I probably shouldn't have. But I thought, you know, since they called Savaldi's and they called Tony and they didn't like what they heard, they weren't interested. And that kind of makes you not, and it kind of tells you like you wasted your time. Instead, I should have kept going with it because if I've been driving Jimmy the whole time, who knows?
Yeah.
So that's a sad short story.
Sad part is you're not the only one that's to where we all know somebody else that, you know, feels like their gimmick was used, but besides having them being used.
But that's the thing of the world. Unless you copyright it, LLC it, do all that stuff and own it, and some stuff you can't do that to. Wrestling moves, I can't copyright a move. I can copyright the name of it, if I improve it, but I can't copyright the move.
Right. Apparently, you can copyright throwing Pokeballs. Fucking Power found that out, but yeah,
because it's their intellectual property. It's similar to their intellectual property. That's why they. And I have studied in criminal justice and constitutional law, so like, but that type of stuff, if it's similar to an intellectual property to the point where it's so similar that there's no discrepancy, which pretty much it is.
I guess so.
It's up to a court of law to decide, but like you can, if it's similar to someone's intellectual property, yeah. So like if you know how Uso has the yeet thing, so if I decide, but his whole thing is yeet, right?
Yep.
So if I decide to do something called yee without the T,
yee.
They ain't gonna fly. They ain't gonna fly. That ain't gonna fly because he owns that shit. He owns the company. He might not. WWE owns the rights to that shit. That's a similar intellectual property. I can't do that. So that would get me in trouble. You know, if I do anything like anything that's challenging, like Triple H was the game, and I did something like the game. I'm gonna be. Because like that's why I Joseph Alexander was a game. I'm like, that's close, man. You got to be careful. Like I'm sure Triple H doesn't care at this point because he's not really wrestling anymore. But like, you don't want to do anything that's gonna get you sued.
Right.
You gotta
Blue Cane found that out.
Huh?
Blue Cane found that out.
Can't believe all the Kane stuff. Like, why? I understand it's funny. It's a parody, so you can get away with some of that stuff legally. You can get away with certain parodies. That's why the Blue World Order got away with their stuff for so long because it's a parody.
How has Donkey Boy got away with his gimmick so long?
Because no one's reported him.
All he has to do is go to Dunkin' Donuts and say, "Can you sponsor me?" That's all he has to do.
They are a multi-million-dollar company. They're not going to sponsor him to do low-level independent wrestling. If he was like in AEW or like in a big company, like the Slim Jim deal, like Macho Man's synonymous with Slim Jims for the rest of his, God rest his soul, for his entire career, Slim Jims, pretty much.
He's still in the commercials, even though he's.
I bet you.
He has his own Slim Jim.
I wonder if they actually have been looking for Donkey and can't find his address.
That's the problem with anything like that. Like, you're gonna get in trouble. So it's just a matter of what. I got a cease and desist once. I had this full-on, really high-grade Spider-Man outfit that had Frankie Flash wear to do like birthday parties and stuff back when I DJ'd, and then I had him wrestling it a couple times. And kids loved. We did a show in Palmyra, Maine, at the Palmyra Community Center when that was still open. So I don't think it's open anymore. And Tony was on the show, and I had Frankie for Josh, like dressed up as Spider-Man. There was a line of literally 50 to 60 people to get pictures and autographs with Spider-Man because the outfit was legit.
Right.
Legit. Tony had nobody because everybody was getting pictures with Spider-Man. He got mad at me. So I put him on the Tony got mad at me for putting him on the show with Spider-Man. Like, how am I going to compete with Spider-Man, Eric? I'm sorry, Tony. I'm not going to compete with Spider-Man, Eric. I'm sorry, Tony. I'm sorry. Like, but I had to stop doing it because Marvel Comics, right around the time, just come out with a new Spider-Man movie. And I had to stop because they sent me a cease and desist letter.
Oh,
Oh shit.
I was always afraid of
I
somebody.
didn't use it all the time. Just select child events, a fundraiser. Like, oh, it'll help the fundraiser make some money. And kids, it's a kids show. It's out of school. Yeah, stuff like that. The Palmyra Community Center was an old school. I was like, it's gonna be a lot of kids. Yeah. But I literally we did a show at a mall. Up in Prescott. I was like, I'll bring Spider-Man up. And cease and desist letter came in the mail. I was like, great. And I think someone from the mall threw me into the bus. I was like, I had a bunch of kids there. I had Spider-Man do the autograph signing, but I didn't let him wrestle because I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't sell anything either Spider-Man related. I was like, no, you can. I literally was having him give away pictures because I just wanted to get rid of. So this way they couldn't say we're making money off it. I had him sign pictures and give them away free to kids. Shockwave the Robo's on the show. I was doing a kids-oriented show. It was in a mall.
Right.
There's a women's match. There's Shockwave. There's Spider-Man. It was a bunch of gimmicky stuff just for kids. And then that's the thing, like that's missing in wrestling now. There's not if you had some wrestling stuff, like I know there's some cosplay wrestling, which is great. That needs to happen because it needs to have that for kids. But there's different types. There's adult wrestling, which is like the stuff that JP likes over here, like deathmatchy stuff. And then there's kids stuff that is sometimes funny and entertaining to some of us adults, but we know it's for kids.
We technically can't even say Legos it's building blocks.
Building blocks.
Can't promote a Lego match. It has to be building blocks because they throw up.
You know what I mean. Stop it. I get what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying? That's why there's it's even right now in wrestling. There's AEW to WWE, it's different.
Yeah.
Because at AEW's, I feel like WWE's doing some really great shit though. Like I've watched their 2 Netflix episodes and all of their matches. Yeah, but like there's only like 5 matches. I'm like, but they're all highly competitive, pay-per-view style matches because they're treating it like these Netflix specials are pay-per-views. I'm sure that's going to drop off eventually, but they're doing it on purpose so it makes it built up right. And eventually they're probably going to add more matches. It'll be shorter matches. It won't be as good quality. They're doing that on purpose to set the bar high and then they're going to bring it down and bring it back up again.
Right.
But
exactly.
EW is mostly competitive wrestling. So that's their niche. Let them have it. But WWE is doing pay-per-view quality and they're going to bring it more and more entertainment, slow it down, bring it back up again. Like they also have NXT, which is also comparative to AEW as well.
I just sat here and watched SmackDown during the podcast, and they had plenty of matches on SmackDown for 3 hours. There was more matches than anything else, which was good.
Right.
Well, it's just different cups of tea to fit to the market. And now that WWE is on Netflix, there's a lot larger market for them.
How to fly.
I was like, why are we looking up?
Like, how are you alive? What the fuck?
It smelled JP O'Reilly's matches being around. It was like, oh no. He walks into these every time. He knows I'm all mess. We should tell him remember your nickname we used to give you? Yeah.
All right, we're going to end the podcast now. Thank you, Jarek, for joining us.
We actually do have to move. We still got news to do, so we got to move on. So.
Someone yelled Chicago 18 times already. You know what that means?
Chicago was yelled about 36
It's okay.
times.
It's okay. I like I said, I enjoy this. I enjoy doing this stuff. That's why I'm not really rushing it. It's like because
when someone yells Chicago at a show, that means take it home.
Yeah. I'm enjoying this.
Chicago.
That's why.
Chicago.
So we definitely got to do this again sometime when you're free. So.
Yeah, right now, like this weekend I'm free, but like as you know, as we talked about, next 2 weekends I'm gonna be pretty busy wearing some spandex. I'm actually looking forward to not wearing spandex on my show, but that might change. I might put myself in the cluster jam just to piss JP off now. Even though I did explain my reasoning, and it was pretty good reasoning. He's just mad.
He's just mad.
You're always JP. You're welcome to come to the show.
The title belt reasoning.
That's it. But you are welcome to come to the show, JP. You're right down the fucking road. Just come to the show and hang out. I know you're like, I don't want to do that. I want to watch the Royal Rumble. You can watch the Royal Rumble anytime. That's why it's a streaming thing.
Right.
Just come to the show, you dumbass.
I just like being petty.
I know. Then don't come.
What do you think? What do you think?
JP O'Reilly.
JP O'Reilly. Just Petty O'Reilly.
Just
Or-
Petty O'Reilly ain't coming
or
to
what-
the show. I guess we'll just sell that seat to someone else. Oh,
Or
no, wait, because it's sold out.
Or what was your nickname there, JP?
It's called We're Ending the Podcast Now. What?
He's getting mad. He doesn't want to know. I'm going to tell you. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, I want to know.
He wants to know. So when he first started wrestling, it took him like a while to learn how to bump. He couldn't figure.
Oh,
he
you told the
literally
story.
had
Why
to work
didn't
around.
that?
He had to work around.
Probably
He
not on
couldn't-
the podcast.
well, he did eventually learn. He couldn't figure it out. Eventually, he moved away back to New Hampshire area. He was going to New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and he went down there for a couple months, and then he came back to Maine. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I moved back to Maine. I didn't like New Hampshire. And I want you to train me and teach him. All right, fine. So I taught him
Hey, hold on.
a payment plan.
I
I put you on a payment plan and let you train.
started with Eric. I trained for 6 months with Eric. Didn't get anywhere with it. Went to New England Pro. Learned a
Really
little
didn't get anywhere with it because he.
bit while still living in New Hampshire. Eventually, Eric saw that I could actually bump and find. And it
No. He came back and he was bumping better than he was. He still wasn't doing very well, and we had to clean it up a bit. And I said, well, at the time he's tall. He's a tall kid. Back then he was a lot.
I'm still the same height. I was just about
But
200.
he's still tall. So I was like, you need to bump like a big guy. And because I'm a big guy, I showed him some sneaky peek ways to bump like a big guy, which is like you gotta really throw your feet to the ceiling. He's like, what do you mean? Act like you're trying to walk on the ceiling. So, and then he learned how to bump. But because he didn't learn how to bump for like over a year, we used to call him shit bump. Like a bump on Purr, shit bump.
You shut your mouth over the peanut gallery.
It was a clever coin of phrase. Everybody had a nickname. Like Lee Miller, I called him No. Because every time I saw him, he was doing something wrong, I'd just yell at him and go, no!
And it was just more common doing that to him than anyone else.
Aiden Angro, I called him Eggs. 'Cause he I don't know why, but every day of a wrestling show, he was always eating eggs before he came to the show. I'm like, why would you eat eggs before a wrestling show? So I used to call him Eggs.
I know which one's coming.
So, no, we're going to stop it because, you're just getting late. But we called him shit bump because for over a year, he couldn't bump right. And it was just a point of phrase because, like, I just a bump on a piece of shit called a shit bump. It was a shit bump. And because he could bump like shit. It was a point of phrase. Point of phrase. Anyway, eventually, we got rid of nicknames once they got on and actually built their own wrestling character, which he used to be called, before he was JP O'Reilly, he was John Paul O'Reilly.
Which is my middle name, Origin. And the first time that was ever announced, I looked at Randy after that first time and I said, please do not ever announce me as that ever again. Just JP. We're sticking with that.
JP O'Reilly. He's been out our way since. And then we call him JP now, or O'Reilly. I don't call him shit bump anymore until the stories come out. Then I have to tell him the stories.
Yeah, those
Yeah, no. He didn't learn how to bump while he was down there. When he came back up, I had to show him the little tricky tricks of the trade. Now he remembers. He's like, the feet to the ceiling.
the shit bump name actually carried on to New England Pro because I never told Eric, you probably don't even know this story. I'm sitting in class one day and it was the first time that Ace had come in to start training.
You shit bump while you were down there.
He walks in, he sees me out of everybody, and this is in front of Christian Casanova, Cam Zagami, Josh Briggs, names, Warbeard, names, and he just looks at me and goes, Shiba! And I was like,
I'm sorry.
I was like, no.
I'm not, but I am sorry. I feel bad.
This is 2015 or like 2014, 15. Yeah. I was like, no, you can't say that here because I had already developed a nickname there. And then once people figured the other nickname out, it all of a sudden just got.
Because it was funny. Call him shit bump because he bumped like shit, but also it's a bump on a turd. It's called a shit bump. It's a funny word. Everybody back in the day had a nickname. Even Mark Moment, he had one. He was called he was called Lemonhead because he always had a sour look on his face.
Yeah, Lemonhead.
Everybody always did.
Oh, Big Cat. Oh,
I think he's done.
Big Cat just. Oh, there he is. Oh,
He got all excited.
He got so excited.
Yeah, I was trying to get off, and then we had to get into the work. But the fact I never knew that makes sense though, that because Ace when he got done with Super Lucha, he was working for me all the time and training with me a little bit too. And him and Graves were traveling together all the time, going back and forth.
I used to drive Ace randomly sometimes at Brewer shows in Island Falls from random time to time back in 2014.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense because him and Graves would travel back and forth and go down there a couple of times, and that makes sense that he said that down there and called you shit bump. And that's
the first day he went down there, he called me. He literally from across the room said it, but I tried to pretend that it wasn't like I wasn't paying attention and be like, please don't, like please.
I remember this because when you came back, I hit up Fury to see how much work you were putting in down there, and he called you shit bump.
Yep.
In the text message.
Yep.
I remember this now.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Not really, but I'm so sorry. That was fucking terrible.
Amato didn't stick with that though. Amato didn't really like the name, which is funny.
No, once you see everybody grows out of their nicknames. Like no one calls Moment Lemonhead anymore. They always call him Moment.
Luke only calls him Lemonhead
because that's what he knew him. That was the story.
Right.
Don't call Lee no. You know, but like people that got their nickname and they grow out once you get your work name. It was part of the biz back in the day. Remember Corey Cox?
Yeah, I was thinking of that one. Do I say that one?
What?
I was like, oh man, should we say that one?
It was funny. We called him Smelly because his last name was Cox, Smelly Cox.
But he actually was smelly, so it was very fitting.
Well, it was just he understood it. Like it was someone was named Strap On. I can't remember who was named Strap because every time I turned around, they were putting the undercarriage on or the straps, like T-bar straps in the ring.
It was Amber.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was Amber.
That's terrible. See, back in the day, it was in-house joking though. Like everybody knew.
It was all in training. Like you never said that stuff outside of the training.
No, like when I was called because I was wrestling as Eric Atlas at one point in my career, and they used to call me Fatless. I was like, is that supposed to be an insult? Because I'm a kid, you call me
That's
Fatless.
the first time I ever heard that.
I was like, just call me
I'd be like calling Big Cat Big Fat. Like it would just be terrible. Like
Big Fat. The fact that you did the chicken shit.
I can't do that anymore. I lost 30 pounds in the last months, and I lost all this.
I'm jiggling. I have this loose. I've been losing weight. And I have like the loose skin, so that's why I'm happy. I wear the singlets that are really tight. So
it's really weird.
So you don't. So if I take a bump, my shit don't keep jiggling afterwards. Why is Eric still moving? He's supposed to be selling. I mean, I think it's just his fat keeps just.
It hasn't reached the end of his body yet.
So I'm a big guy. I can insult myself. I don't give a shit. So once you wear spandex and you're 90% naked in front of people, there's no shame. Like, you're like, this doesn't leave much to the imagination. Looks like I'm smuggling grapes here in my singlet, it's not flattering to be a fat guy in wrestling. I mean,
I know, I feels.
And I have no shame, I've DJ'd everywhere, including, a strip club for a time, and you see a lot of things.
Ooh, maybe Eric Johnson interview part 2 should be strip club stories.
Strictly what?
The part 2 interview should be strip club stories.
Oh yes, definitely, 100%.
My Lanta. I stopped drinking at the wrong time. I don't drink anymore. I would smoke. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm getting old. I'm almost 40, so there was a lot of stupid things I've seen in my time.
Well, I've decided that we're not going to do news tonight. We'll do if you're up to it, JP. We'll do news tomorrow.
That's fine
because I have to go to work in 3 hours. So
Well, that's why it's this long. Yeah, that story.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That's why I'm like, fuck the news. We're not doing the news today.
This is only like scratching the surface. That's why JP was all excited. He's like, we're gonna have so many good stories. I can see him with a steel clap.
There's so many
I know.
things we didn't even get
So
to talk
why
about.
don't we do this? So everybody who's watching, we will be back tomorrow to do news live. So that will also be
They're lying
covers-
for you. The king is here. They're lying to you, peoples. Listen, my royal court. They are lying to you. They're not going to be back tomorrow. They're a bunch of lying assholes.
If we have to, we'll be yeah. Eric, thank you for the memories and all the chances you gave.
Good old boys.
We are welcome, Kevin. Kevin originally started as Coach Beavis for me. That was my pitch idea. Team UK.
And it's lived on.
Nice. So
Yeah,
let's-
dude, it's a great gimmick, dude. It's great.
So it's
Don't
almost
no matter what they
midnight.
say, blow the whistle, Kev. Blow the whistle.
It's almost
Fuck them, no, I
midnight.
go.
So let's do this. Let's end it with like the craziest DJ story at strip club, and then we'll call it a night. And then we'll be back here tomorrow.
Scariest
for-
one. I'll give you a
Scariest
scary
one. The scariest one. We'll do that one. And then we'll be back here tomorrow for the news.
So there used to be a dancer, which was really sweet. And she used to always tip me very well for being the DJ. Cause always cool lights and played all the music she liked. She was short, had a big posterior, and I'll say her dance name, not real name. Her dance name was Violet, and she was short, but built, bigger girl, but looked very nice. And she would climb the pole all the way to the top, flip upside down, and be walking on the ceiling. One time, mind you. I don't know exactly the amount of feet from the pole on the stage to the top of the ceiling. Probably a good 12 to 15 feet,
Yeah.
maybe more. You've been in the club. How that club once before? What? How tall do you think the ceilings were? That was a long time ago. He went with Ben at one time.
I've never been to a club, so I can't tell
No,
you.
he's been to that club before and with Ben before. So I don't remember, but I would say it's like it's like 15 feet, right? Something like that.
Maybe a little bit more. It's a tall room.
He was standing on the ceiling upside down, holding the pole. And she was doing this little dance, completely upside down, feet on the ceiling. She slipped and let go of the pole and fell. I just saw her torpedo toward the stage. She catches it with her hands, swings around, last minute lands on her ass. And she's laying, and you hear this biggest, loudest thunderclap. And everybody, the whole club goes silent. Mind you, my music's blaring, lasting. Everybody stops and looks at the stage. It's just quiet. I stand up in the booth because I'm like above, like I'm level with the stages, but I'm above it, so I'm seeing down and across the room.
Right.
I look up and I'm like waving my hands. I'm like thumbs up, thumbs down, making sure she's okay. And most of the girls will give you a thumbs up or thumbs down if they're not okay. Waving my hand, she puts her hands up like stop. It's that she just sat there. She turned, used her pole to stand up, and then she put a thumbs up at me, and I'm like, oh. I thought she broke her hip. She fell,
She
straight
could've broke her
down, kicked around, landed on her ass. I was like, oh. If she hadn't have grabbed that pole with her hands last minute and swung around and landed on her ass, she'd been dead.
Yeah.
100%.
I about shit my pants. After that, I went and this was back way long years ago. I went and took a shot. I went and got a shot of scotch, went back in the booth, and I was just like, oh.
I would have bought her a shot and been like,
And I had to keep going. So she got off stage, but I let that song play through because every girl usually dances for 2 to 3 songs, and I let her whole set play through because I went and got a shot and got back up there, and then once her songs got done, I put the next girl back up on the stage because it was a little like quiet in that club other than the music blaring. Like you could hear someone cough. It was bad. It was scary. There's some scary things like that. There's also some non-scary things, but that was a scary time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, holy crap.
Even stories. Yeah, I got DJing and wrestling stories. It's bad. There's some stuff.
Well, we'll definitely keep that for the next time. We want to say thank you, Eric. Sorry for keeping you this long, but we enjoyed
Almost
every single bit.
midnight.
It is almost midnight.
At bedtime. We've got to run this whole royal court in the morning, and you have kept me up late.
Yeah, I got to get up in 3.
5 hours.
I got to get up in 3 hours, so I feel you.
How dare you?
Well, thank you again, Eric, for jumping on with us. Like I said, definitely we got to do this again. And you have yourself a great night. Find Ring Wars 2, February 1st in Palmyra. Still tickets are available. Not that many left, so get them while they're still available.
It'll probably sell out by the end of the month, guys. We already know. But hey, whoever gets them, best of luck to them. Main Ring Wars Facebook. Get them if you can. If not, or you can hit them up me, Old School EJ, on Facebook or Insta or Snap.
And look forward to Ring Wars 2. Ring Wars 3. Sorry.
Ring Wars 3. March.
3 in March.
See, I gave you the extra beats. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Eric. You have yourself a good night, buddy.
You too.
See you again soon.
Yeah.
Yes, he's trying to exit. There we go. I got him. Yeah, I'm like, fuck, we got probably another hour, and I can't do that. I might as well just stay up at this point if I'm gonna fucking do the news and just go straight to work.
Brother, you drive.
I'm gonna drive 2 hours to Calais tomorrow. So
go get sleep then.
2 hours 2 hours to Calais in 3 hours, basically.
Christ. All right, go to sleep.
Yeah, so we're gonna do this. So this is my plan. If you're available, JP, we're gonna do tomorrow. I'm also thinking about moving the times too. So instead of doing 9 o'clock, we're gonna do 8. We're gonna have a meeting with all of us to have a discussion with this. So we'll do the news tomorrow, either 9 or 8 or 9 o'clock. It probably will be 9 just because it's normal. Just because we have a guest. We've been talking about this possibly when days where we're doing guests, we'll do a Saturday and a Friday show. Just because it's just a lot for all of us. As you can tell, it's been almost 3 hours now with all of us on here. So I want to just say thank you all. Quickly do your fucking plugs so we can get out of here and go to bed.
Find me at JP O'Reilly on Twitter. On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok before it gets banned in 2 days.
It's own TikTok fault. I don't want to hear it. So it's their own fault. It's fucking stupid. It's a fuck you. We're not gonna do anything to everybody. So
for tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah, we're saving for tomorrow. But yeah, it's the reason why TikTok is being banned is because TikTok. It's not because they had the opportunity because it's only getting removed from the platform, from the App Store.
Right.
That you could still watch it online and everything else. However, TikTok was like, fuck you. We're just gonna get rid of it. So, anyways,
we're gonna get deep in a rabbit hole if we
Yes, you look into it.
So JP O'Reilly, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that fan stuff. Friday, January 24th, Hardcore Open Challenge. Anybody that's a wrestler, Big Cat, you can even answer the challenge if you want. You could win 2 belts in one night.
I gotta beat the shit out of Samuel Matthews.
Yeah, and if you still have enough energy after that, you can come try and beat the shit out of me. Anyone that's a wrestler, anybody that's a wrestler in the New England area, come fight me. And if you can possibly get the giant 7-foot demon to go get pissed off at somebody else, because I don't.
Oh, we already know he's coming for you.
No, he's not. He's not.
We already know that.
No, he's not. He's gonna go far, far away.
I guarantee you, he's coming for you, like 100%.
I'm sure somebody else will piss him off before the evening starts. All you got to do is just look at him funny, and you become his enemy instantly. So somebody will give him a really funny look. I guarantee you. And
I'm staying away, so it's not me.
Yeah, don't look. Whatever you do, don't look at him. Don't look him in the eyes. I promise. It's not fun. It's terrifying.
Big Cat Tyler Adams on everything. Not everything, I should say. Big Cat Tyler Adams for TikTok and TikTok and Instagram. Tyler Adams on Facebook and X. You can find Purr sessions on everything. Thank you all so much for listening and watching for the live shows. Like I said, again, we're going to do the news tomorrow. Just makes it easier for everybody. And also, thank you, audio listeners, for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everything. Thank you guys so much. I'm trying to hurry through this because I really need to go fucking bed.
Me too.
So thank you guys. We will be back tomorrow for the news. Okay. Hopefully we'll have more guys on, just me besides me or me and JP. Hopefully Levi is out of the fucking snowstorm or maybe I'll be in one.
Maybe
We won't have a
dead.
fucking
Who
show.
knows?
Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much. Like I said, tune in for tomorrow, and we'll all catch you guys later. Thank you guys for watching.
Per session signing off, but we ain't saying goodbye. Keep your fans like steel reaching for the sky. Professional wrestling, we'll never let it go. Big cats in the house, bringing the rumble to the show.
I need to go to bed. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Catch you guys tomorrow.
We love you, bye.
Dude, I'm gonna fucking fall asleep at the wheel. That's what's gonna happen.
Go get some sleep. Oh, wait, are we still live?